and gentlemen, let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Are you playing your old classmate this weekend, Baker Mayfield? What's that about? I mean, how does that feel? And then why is he still intimidated by your mom?
By my mom?
That's what he said?
He said intimidated by my mom?
He basically said,
yeah, his mom used to work him out. She told me stories for me to get my ass down to Florida and go work out with him, and I politely declined after a few beverages at the Heisman ceremony. But no, she's intimidating. There's a reason why he's so tough.
I'll tell you something new. Yeah. I don't recall. I do not recall. Yeah.
Are you going to say something to him about it when you see him this Sunday?
Yeah, I'm clueless.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, a Thursday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Beards. We head up until 2 o'clock. The next 4 hours, we've got you. A number of things today. Football, some baseball, some college basketball. A lot of stuff to talk about. 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us. I never know what Beards is going to put in the open, what clips are going to be there. And sometimes when the clips happen, I have to ask him, like, what's this from? What's the reference to this? What's significant about this? That one, pretty much self-explanatory. I did not hear the Baker Mayfield Lamar Jackson this week of them talking, or Baker talking about his mother in a respectful way, as in a not disrespectful in that he's scared of her or intimidated by her, more of a respectful way that, that's why he plays the way that he does, and the person that he is because of the upbringing by his mother and how tough and apparently to Baker Mayfield, intimidating she is. Which is true. First day of practice in college, they had him returning punts. Bobby Petrino did. His mom showed up the next day. Went to a different city. Went to Louisville. Talked to Bobby Petrino. If my son's returning punts again, he's leaving. It's the last time Lamar Jackson did anything but play quarterback. So Baker Mayfield's probably right. Intimidating. She doesn't play. She does not play. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810. The text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation today. Here's how it lines up. Ken Swanson, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast, our guest an hour from now. We'll talk with him about the Chiefs, get his opinion and his thoughts and perspective on this Chargers game coming up this weekend. And the Chiefs all of a sudden depleted at wide receiver. They go from last week adding a wide receiver in Kadarius Toney, or 2 weeks ago adding Kadarius Toney. Last week, no McCole Hardman. And now this week, no McCole Hardman, no Juju Smith-Schuster, no MVS. And we'll see about, Juju and MVS with the illness, Juju with concussion protocol. But certainly there's a chance that the Chiefs take the field in L.A. with their wide receivers being Justin Watson and Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore and Marcus Kemp. Am I missing somebody? I don't know. A lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets. Let me tell you that. If you're playing in a deeper fantasy league that everybody cares about, if you're playing in that, maybe this is a week that Noah Gray gets a start. Maybe this is a week you take a chance on a Noah Gray if the wide receivers don't play. If there's no MVS and no McCole and no Juju Smith-Schuster. A lot of 2 and 3 wide receiver or tight end sets. A lot of 3 tight end sets, I would guess. So 913-912-4810. We'll talk with Kent Swanson. We'll hear from the Chiefs today, Coordinator Day. Dave Tobe, Steve Spagnuolo, Eric Bieniemy, and whichever players they may give us at the podium. We will hear from them coming up at 11:45 or so. And then we're playing some sports or leisure today, presented by Johnny's Tavern. And I am told that making his sports or leisure debut is Mick Schaefer. I am told that Mick Schaefer, Lebo was going to fill in, and I don't even know if I've told Lebo yet. Lebo was going to fill in for Josh on the leisure side. Lebo can still come and hang out. That'd be fun. Lebo, Mick, Beards, that'd be great. Callers, Johnny's Tavern, what more could you ask for? But Mick, we believe, is going to be making his sports or leisure debut today in a game which he calls Everybody Wins. He's like, hey, man, when can I be a part of Everybody Wins? I don't know, man. Josh is out. Mick last week's like, hey, can I be a part of Everybody Wins? If Josh is like, yeah, if you want to, let's do it. So we believe Mick Schaefer will be here for sports or leisure today.
So is he going to be the Russian judge in this idea of his, or how's he doing this?
I am guessing he is going to be. I'm really curious about how he's going to react in the moment. It's one thing to sit on the sideline and judge, but Mick, when you become the man in the arena, it's a little different the way you may react. I don't know. He may go a little bit easier on the callers than he expects us to be, the contestants. Or maybe he's just going to rule with an iron fist. And, sorry, you got a syllable wrong. Get the hell out. Hang up on this joker. We'll find out. Coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Johnny's Tavern. Playing a little sports or leisure. Tonight, K-State versus Kansas City. The 19.5-point favorite, K-State Wildcats, trying to keep the perfect record of the local teams intact. 5:30 on ESPN Plus. That goes on tonight. So that's the game in action tonight. Titans-Packers with Thursday Night Football going on as well. A little crunch time coming your way at 6. Let's get into the show. 913-912-4810. Let's get into the show. Tex says, sounds like Jody Forts and Noah Gray parlay for some touchdowns. Yeah, could be. Tex says, another reason to get Mary Kay Cabot on again, just to talk about Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson. He doesn't even play for the Browns, but I love that it's an excuse to, hey, Mary Kay, can we have you on? Because we want to talk about Baker with the Panthers talking about Lamar Jackson's mom who plays for the Ravens. Also, are they going to play the game in Buffalo on Sunday? Because it's the Bills on Thursday Night Football next week, right? Yeah, because of Thanksgiving. The Bills play the early game on Thanksgiving. Last time this happened with the Bills where they got feet of snow, they moved the game to Monday. Don't think you're moving the game to Monday when the Bills have to play on Thanksgiving. So, really curious as to how this is going to work out on Sunday when they're expecting 3 to 6 feet of snow. And it's not just I saw the reaction on Twitter from some, and that, well, if they may have to move the game, and it's like the Bills talk about a home field advantage and the snow, and now they got to move the game. Yeah, if the Browns or Bills can't get there, also, you've got people that have to work the game. Not even if there's no fans there. I mean, we've seen NFL games played with no fans, so that isn't going to be something that everybody's going to be shocked to see. So those have taken place before. But EMTs, other staffing, to be able to get to the stadium if the roads are closed down, literally closed down.
Well, I'll tell you this. Tre'Davious White is listed at 5'11", so he will not be playing in that game.
Actually, you know what? If that's a running...
Nyheim Hines, he's not playing. He's 5'9".
Singletary isn't big either.
He is 5'7". He's not going to be playing.
The Bills cannot field a backfield. How many players? They get 6. Now, I think the snow will be off the field, but that is kind of funny that they are expecting that they could get up to the amount of snow that would be higher than their backfield in a game in which they'll probably have to run the football. Tex says you can ask Mary Kay if the Browns are built for 6 feet of snow. The Browns are built for this. You know what they shouldn't have done? They should not have let the Browns play in a game where there's 6 feet of snow. Mother Nature made a mistake in doing that. The Browns are – Jacoby Brissett is built for anywhere but the red zone unless you're handing off in a game where there's a lot of snow. They are built for that. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens on Sunday. We've seen the Bills play in a game where nobody can pass the ball. They also lost that. Right? Wasn't that a loss to the Patriots a year ago when it was so cold and windy and rainy that nobody could pass the ball?
Yeah, and I think
Mac Jones had like 3 attempts.
I was just going to look at that.
And the Patriots ended up winning that game, right?
I think that's right. Let me see if I can find the game log for that.
Because you're talking about a team that the Bills run the ball based on their quarterback ultimately. It's not a power run game. Where the Patriots are more of that running game. So it was built for them.
Final score, Patriots 14, Bills 10.
Yeah.
Mac Jones 2 for 3 for 19 yards.
2 for 3.
He had a quarterback rating of 84.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Josh Allen 15 for 30, 145 and a touchdown, 2 sacks.
Yeah.
Quarterback rating of 75.
Yeah, you're going to throw the ball 30 times in that, man. Uh-oh. Nick Chubb's only 5'11". Kareem Hunt isn't that tall either. I mean, how many running backs are actually 6 foot though? I mean, like
the Browns are
like honestly, like, but really though, how many running backs are like 6? Like Derrick Henry is built for this. Not the Browns player, but Derrick Henry built for something like this. The Titans would go in there and dominate. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I don't think Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, those guys aren't 6 foot. Nick Chubb's 5'11". Isn't he taller than Kareem Hunt?
Yeah. Well, they're both listed at 5'11".
Are they?
Yeah.
Maybe it's because Kareem Hunt's stouter, stockier. It feels like he's smaller, even though it's not like Nick Chubb is wiry. He's got tree trunks for legs. He squats 1,000 pounds. He squats many humans, many grown. He squats 3 offensive linemen. Does Nick Chubb? Text says debut of Myles Garrett at running back. Could be. So that's coming up on Sunday. Chiefs, Sunday Night Football against the Chargers. One of the big storylines that I'm watching this week is, who's going to play. Is Keenan Allen going to be out there? Is Mike Williams going to be out there for the Chargers? We talked about the wide receivers with Juju, McColl, MVS. Lamont, who's a really good special teamer. So, if Lamont can't go, then Marcus Kemp's probably going to be active as a wide receiver. So then there's a gunner as well to fill that role. But looking at the first matchup versus what it could be this weekend, and that first matchup is a game where, you can make a case that the Chiefs were pretty fortunate to get out of there with the win. And I believe we did that the day after. Now, we talked about the Chiefs pretty fortunate to get out of there with the win, and you take it. And then when they play in L.A., you see what happens then. Because it certainly doesn't feel like the matchup this weekend is as close or 50-50 as that one felt going into the game and certainly as the game was going along. That interception that was and then wasn't with Asante Samuel could have been the difference in the entire game. Chiefs down by, 17-7 at that point. Chargers would have been getting the ball in Chiefs territory. They just went down and scored the possession before. It's in the third quarter. Mahomes had been struggling. The offense was almost non-existent. It was anemic. And then all of a sudden you get a little bit of life. And then a Justin Watson touchdown. And next thing you know, the Chiefs end up winning that one. But as much as we can talk about like the Chargers and they feel like this is a season saver, that they got to have this one. They got to find a way to win this weekend or they've essentially lost the division. And they're also falling, further behind in terms of trying to make the playoffs. Not behind in which they wouldn't be there, but just, trying to get a playoff spot this year. And injuries happen. Happens with every team, and we always talk about it with the Chargers. And whether that's a Chargers thing or an excuse thing, it's a reality thing for this weekend. Because just going through and looking at the players that played in week 2, that are not going to play in week 11, not the ones that are limited and questionable, not even if we don't talk about Keenan Allen. Heck, even if we add in Keenan Allen, because Mike Williams played in the game. So if Mike Williams and Keenan Allen play, okay, you're adding Keenan Allen to the mix. But here's what you're taking away. Guys that will not be out there on the field. Joey Bosa, Jerry Tillery, Agbanania, trust me on that, it's correct, Austin Johnson, J.C. Jackson, Rashawn Slater, Joshua Kelly, Jalen Guyton. It's every one of their nose tackles outside of Sebastian Joseph Day. Joey Bosa played 91% of the snaps in week 2. Jerry Tillery played 33% of the snaps. Austin Johnson played 61% of the snaps. Agbanania played 19% of the snaps. J.C. Jackson played 100% of the snaps in that game. Rashawn Slater played 100% of the snaps. Joshua Kelly played 25%, and Jalen Guyton played 11%. But you're talking about your nose tackles, your defensive tackles, that are and by the way, that are replaced by practice squad players. No Bosa and 3 defensive tackles. The only defensive tackle that they have healthy that they started the season with is Joseph Day. Sebastian Joseph Day. The others out for the season or released and replaced with practice squad guys. And no Joey Bosa. This is not a game where if the Chiefs go in and lose, you go, Chargers, Chiefs, Herbert, these games are always close. They lost last year at home. Turnover-prone game, had a chance to win, 4th down conversion. Was it a pass interference? Didn't look like it, didn't really feel like it. It was called. Chiefs end up losing. They go to L.A. in a crazy game with all the 4th down attempts and the 2-point conversion and then the Chiefs struggling and then making the comeback and Mahomes turning into Superman or just turning into Patrick Mahomes late in a game that's close and throwing the ball all over the place, going into overtime, winning the game, and getting out of there. And you go, well, they split. And you can make a case that the better team lost both of those games, that the Chiefs were the better team at home against the Chargers last year, but they had all the turnovers, they lose. The Chargers felt like the better team in L.A., but they went for it, all those 4th downs, didn't kick the field goal, 2-point conversion, all that stuff that we talked about. That's not this weekend. And I'm not saying the Chiefs are going to go in and dominate and win by a lot. Because, by the way, that line is now down to 6. From 6.5 to 6. I wonder if it'll go back up to 6.5. I mean, is that a half point based on if Keenan Allen and Mike Williams play and they feel like the offense with Herbert can keep up with the Chiefs to a certain degree? But this should be a game where, when we've talked about the correlation between the Chiefs' ability to run the football and the points they put up on the board, that they've averaged 40 points a game when the Chiefs have run the football the way that they did, essentially, against the Jags. I know they didn't get to 40, but they're averaging close to that in some of those games. The offense just looks different. Just looks different when they're able to do that. The Chargers, in theory, should not be able to slow down the Chiefs' rushing attack. And if that's the case, it's not to say that the Chiefs should now run the ball 60% of the time. It's the point that if you're setting up with 2nd and 3 and 2nd and 4, good luck against this Chiefs team. The drawback would be who's going to be out there playing wide receiver. Kadarius Toney, Justin Watson, Sky Moore, Marcus Kemp. Who's going to be out there playing wide receiver? It's going to be a 3 tight end set a lot, which may rely on the running game, may rely on Travis Kelce a lot, which is perfectly fine. He torches the Chargers. It's what he does. But if Juju and MVS and McColl end up playing this weekend, there is no reason for the Chiefs to not cover the spread and control the game. The game script being how the Chiefs want it to go. Bosa and Slater, 2 keystone pieces for their team, out. J.C. Jackson, the big free agent acquisition as a cornerback that played the entire game against the Chiefs, out. 3 of their 4 defensive tackles / nose tackles that started the season with the Chargers, out. and replaced by guys that they had on the practice squad or they signed after the season started that are playing that many reps, that are playing 60% this past weekend. One of the nose tackles against the 49ers that the Chargers had, defensive tackle, played like 60% of the snaps. It's a practice squad player this year. That's what they're going with. You got to find a way to control this game, to take care of the Chargers. This is as what feels like as wide of a matchup in terms of personnel on the field as there's been since Herbert and Brandon Staley and the Chargers and all of that over the last couple of years. Go take care of business and win the division this weekend. Take care of business, win the division, and on Monday we talk about focusing on the number 1 seed, which is what it's been about really, but it's also been about the division too when the season started because of the AFC West being the greatest division that was ever constructed, and it has not been that. In game number 10, the Chiefs can wrap up the division, where essentially Vegas can just start paying out those that had the Chiefs to win the division. Just start paying those tickets. It's happened before when the Chiefs have had such a sizable lead in the division that one of the sports books last year or 2 years ago in 2020 maybe that went ahead and paid out in like week 12. It's like, here you go. Cash the ticket for the Chiefs and then go ahead, reinvest. Use it here the next time. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I want to hear from Travis Kelce in his podcast. Weighed in on Kadarius Toney, the hit on Juju and MVS, some other things, and then the Baseball Isn't Boring podcast. I'm not even sure where that's out of, but, DM'd last night. Dayton Moore on that. And some interesting clips from Dayton Moore. And maybe having a different view of his tenure than Royals fans have, especially the most recent stretch. We'll do that as the show rolls along. Ken Swanson, 11 o'clock. Chiefs, 11:45. Sports or Leisure today with one Mick Schaefer. We continue with more Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. You're in the zone with Jason Anderson
To be honest, I didn't even know who Jason Anderson was.
on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Beards heading up until 2 o'clock. Text says, heard it here first. Chiefs Dolphins in the AFC Championship game. The weather's cold. Terrible warm weather team. Arrowhead's going to be nuts. Or weather's cold and terrible against a warm weather team. Kind of hard to have a terrible team in the AFC Championship game, but I read it incorrectly. I see what you're saying now. Text says, betting my house on Clyde Edwards-Helaire over the rushing yard total this weekend. You know what? Sound strategy. You should totally do that. I think the Chiefs are going to be able to run the football. And if there's one thing we learned last week, that means it's going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire getting many carries. Text says the Bills game, they can put the running back on Josh Allen's shoulders. Bills-Browns game can be the first ever NFL chicken fight. In the snow. They'd be taller than 6 feet if that happens. 913-912-4810. 913-912-4810. Text says if this game is in Buffalo, it should either put the nail in Allen's MVP or vault him back into the conversation. Yeah, I mean, if it's a crazy snowy game and Josh Allen is just brilliant, then yeah, I think he could certainly do that. But I don't know that there is much. I shouldn't say anything, but I don't know that there's much that Josh Allen could do the rest of the way outside of Patrick Mahomes struggling to where Allen would be MVP. And I say that because, Mahomes, it's his to lose. And if he just simply goes out and plays good football and does what, and I'm not saying average 400 yards a game for the next, 8 games, but if he goes out and just puts up your regular Mahomes numbers and the Chiefs are winning, it's his to lose. And somebody else is going to have to do something extraordinary to pass him. That being, Tua, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, whatever it might be. Because it is absolutely Patrick Mahomes' MVP to lose right now. 913-912-4810. Let's hear from Travis Kelce. And let's start with what became a big conversation as the hit happened, when they picked up the flag, what the Chiefs ended up doing after that, and the reaction of the players. We heard it in the locker room as well. I talked to Adam Teicher about it on Tuesday. Here's Travis Kelce weighing in on the hit to Juju and also MVS, what that was like on the field and the players while it was going on, and then the rest of the game.
I mean, it just rips your heart out, man, especially the way it goes down. That's never easy to see, never easy to be a part of.
Well, later in the game, Cisco, underlay, mama, E-I-E-I-oh.
That's
Nelly.
not Cisco. That's not Cisco. I don't know how you missed your favorite song, the thong song.
That's it.
How did you miss the thong song?
I've only slept for 2 hours, all right? I'm on low sleep. Cisco and Nelly have got to be, it's the same era. Come on, give me a break. Anyway, Cisco made another violent hit on Chiefs wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Scantling, yes.
Gosh.
You said it right.
I know, but I'm just, there's so many hyphenations. All right. Sent to the blue tent.
I love you, Quez, man. I'm glad you're good, dog, but that was not an easy one to see either.
Other Chiefs reaction, Justin Reed, we were pissed. Is that accurate?
Yeah, no, everybody on the sideline and everybody in the game was pissed. We kind of had a moment where we were like, yo, let's rally around the ball. Let's make sure we take care of our guys, man, because this is getting out of hand. There's a lot of those kind of momentum switches, like those are boosters when you have big hits like that. And I think Juju's was, the ball came out. Quez, big third down that we didn't convert. So it's just, stuff like that, momentum-wise. And then on top of that, we just got to protect our guys. We can't let somebody come into our house and throw bodies around and send guys to blue tents and stuff like that. It's just like, this is our house. We got to protect our guys, get around the ball. They're a physical bunch, and they were flying around trying to impose their will. And, we had to react. We had to respond accordingly, man.
I asked the same thing to Teicher. Like, it felt like the players were saying, okay, let's go. And he brought up an interesting point. He's like, they were outscored from that point forward by the Jags. But, I think it can be a feeling of, all right, let's respond and let's play a little tougher versus, okay, now you're going to really take control of the game because they had already pretty much been in the game at that point. Were they up 19-0 at that time when Juju went out of the game? At least 14-0 when he went out of the game. But yeah, so Teicher saying, pointing out, well, they were outscored from that point forward. So was it really one that got them rolling and into the game? Because again, it wasn't like the Raiders, where the bad call by the officials and Chris Jones got the crowd rolling and at full throat for the rest of the game and never letting up. And a big reason why the Chiefs were able to come back was kind of that play. I also think if that was officiated correctly, the Chiefs end up winning that game anyway because of what it would do right before half. Here's Travis Kelce weighing in on one of the other storylines to come out of that game, which becomes even more important with the injuries at wide receiver for the Chiefs now this weekend, and that is his thoughts on the newest Chief, Kadarius Toney.
This dude Joker, man. When I don't know how the heck the
Is that his nickname, Joker?
The Joker, man. Joka. The Joker.
Is it in reference to the Batman?
That's a good question.
Or is it?
I don't know. I'll have to ask him. Where Joker came from.
Is he Is he funny?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great dude. I was blown away with how professional he was. I mean, when you get a trade like that, you think something, there's something that you have to weigh out or something that you have to, bring. Ever since he's been in the building, it has been, man, this dude's smart. Man, this dude's crazy athletic. Man, this guy has a lot of confidence. And when you have a lot of confidence, that means you understand what's going on out there. You're playing, you know what I mean? You're seeing things, you know how to attack it, and that goes back to being a smart player, a smart person. And he's just been a great teammate. I'll tell you what, man, the first couple of days I saw him catching punts in practice. It is the most casual. I've never seen anyone catch punts like this. I would assume that all the great ones do it like this, but usually you get a guy that punts in the air, they go sprinting back to where they think it's going to go, and then they're back there trying to adjust to it. Maybe there's a little wind aspect to it, and they're all right, should I step up? Should I step back? He is, as soon as the punt happens, he sees where it's going, casually just starts walking over. It doesn't even run, just is observing what's in front of him in terms of the defense or the punt team coming at him, and is just walking over to it, and then 10 feet before it gets to him, finally gets ready and just snags it and is in full gamer mode. It's one of the coolest things. It goes back to the catch that he had on the sideline. He's just over there mid route just running, got two guys on him, nah, I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure these gloves are on tight so I can snag this thing out there. And it's he gets up and just crazy athlete, unbelievable player when he gets the ball in his hands, and obviously can run great routes. Happy that he got his first touchdown in the National Football League. The first of many for sure, man.
So can you believe the Giants let Kadarius Toney go?
No, I don't know how he got out of that building. I just don't get it. I don't get it one bit. I don't understand. I don't even want to understand. I don't even want to know what happened over there. I am just extremely happy that Brett Veach found a way, yet again, to get an unbelievable, talented player in this building.
That's certainly the reaction so far. And it's funny, he talks about the returning the punts or judging where the punt's going to come down. That, we were at the Titans game, and, they're out there warming up, and the special teams out there, and they're returning punts, and Sky Moore and Watson and McCole and Kadarius Toney. And hearing Kelce say that, listen to that last night, hearing Kelce talk about that, I was watching the warm-ups against Tennessee, and one of my first reactions is Toney able to judge where the ball's coming? It kind of feels like he's not really able to kind of judge. Maybe he's warming up, so it's you're watching, and other guys are right there waiting for it to come down. And then hearing Kelce say that, I'm oh. So that's just kind of what he does. He's got that natural instinct to sort of know exactly where it's going to land, time it up. He doesn't have to sprint over there and stand or whatever, which is perfectly fine if you do that. Because again, the caller with the Hippocratic oath on the special teams, at first do no harm to the offense. You'd like it to be more secure, but it has been. He looks very comfortable returning punts, but interesting hearing Kelsey's like, man, it's the coolest thing that he's just sort of like floating around and sees where it is and then, grabs it like he's catching it like a wide receiver from a quarterback and then goes. So, again, glowing reviews. Kelsey saying, surprised at how professional he was. Gets into the building, how professional he was, and can't believe he got it in New York. We'll see. 2 weeks in, A's. See if that continues. Hopefully it does. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
That's a secret to life. That's what I've always said, is always talk behind someone's back, never actually approach them and get to the heart of the issue.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, heading up until 2 o'clock. Kent Swanson joins us at 11 o'clock. Chiefs press conferences today at about 11:45. Coordinators at the podium: Dave Tobe, Steve Spagnuolo, Eric Bieniemy, and certain players. We'll find out who those are. And Sports or Leisure today in the 1 o'clock hour. Mick Schaefer will be handling the leisure today for a game in which he calls everybody wins. A game in which we call Sports or Leisure, presented by Johnny's Tavern, $25 to Johnny's Tavern. We will be giving away. As it relates to Travis Kelce on the Juju Smith-Schuster hit by Cisco and MVS, text says that still seems to me that Cisco got emboldened by the first hit on Juju, went all out on MVS because they figured they wouldn't call it. Almost perfect level of slime. That is interesting. I do wonder if the penalty held up, well, then it would have been, first down and everything, the butterfly effect. But let's just say everything plays out the exact same the rest of the way. So the penalty holds up, and like the next play, the Chiefs turn it over so the Jags get the ball. And the rest of the game takes place exactly like that. Does Andre Cisco launch at MVS?
I am assuming no.
No way. No way. So, I mean, I don't know if it was Vontaze Burfict, as in, like, let me go out and try to actually injure somebody. But I do think there's something to the flag being picked up and then saying, cool, I can now, not that I'm going to try to hurt somebody, but I don't have to really hold back a little bit. I can launch into this person.
That's how they're calling this game. Okay, cool.
Great. Let him play. Let's do it. Let's get physical. Hey, let's have some fun, man. Let's get weird. Yeah, I do think there's probably something to that. 913-912-4810. Let's hear from Travis Kelce. And he was asked by Jason, not me, but his brother, Jason, a stat that he likes the most, looking at the Chiefs' offense or looking at the team. When he sees a stat, what is it that really sticks out to him that he likes the best?
Yeah, the win column.
It's a good stat.
In terms of other stats, I mean, I always just equate it to how do you lose games? Turnovers, third down conversions. Are we scoring touchdowns or are we kicking field goals? Those are all the important ones. Like, are we converting third downs? Are we winning situational football games? And at the end of the day, are we turning the ball over? And as our offense right now, we're rolling. We had a couple turnovers, and obviously you want to clean up everything, but guys are just out there playing with all the passion for the guys next to him, and that's the funnest part, man. Is that even when we kind of have a hiccup or we fumble, Isaiah Pacheco had a fumble in the red zone, but immediately after that, Coach Reed says, "Now, first play, next drive, go ahead, young man, and run that thing downhill like we know you know how to." Because I mean, after that, after you turn the ball over or something like that, the first thing you want to do is get the ball and just run your tail off and show everybody that you are accountable for that kind of stuff. Or you are accountable with the ball in your hands. And sure enough, I mean, he had a hell of a day after that.
That is an interesting part about, and Pacheco said yesterday that nobody came up and no coach came up and said, hey, we're going to go right back to you getting the ball. Players came up to him, was like, hey, all good. Long game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he said, went up to him and said, look, there's going to be ups and downs. All right, it's a long game. You're going to make plenty of plays. Keep your head in it. But then the next drive, it's a running play to Pacheco, who's back in the game. And, he talked about yesterday that it was just, okay, yeah, let me go out and prove that, I'm going to be effective here and run hard and protect the football and do what I'm supposed to do. So, I think there is something to, all right, let's go right back to that guy. He just fumbled. He made a mistake. Let's go back to him. Let's make sure he knows that, this game, he's a part of it. What was it maybe the Titans in 2019 where did McCole fumble or drop a punt or something, and then they ended up at the goal line, one of those quick little passes down the line of scrimmage, and McCole got a touchdown. And it was like, hey, You're good. You're good. We're going to keep going to you. I thought it was like a bigger game where there was a mistake that happened by McColl, and then they ended up making sure he got a touchdown next time they were sort of in that position. And that's kind of the way that, and whether that was, just going to be the play anyway, or if it was, all right, McColl's kind of down on himself. Let's make sure that he knows that we're still coming to him. And Pacheco as well. I think that's part of coaching, knowing what guys need, knowing how it might affect them the rest of the game. If Pacheco got pulled and Edwards-Helaire goes in the next possession and plays, and then McKinnon the next possession, and Pacheco just has a few carries in the game and a fumble and like 15 yards, I wonder what the mindset would be this week. But we know what it is. Yeah, it was Texas 2020 Buffalo AFC Championship game. Yeah. Because I couldn't remember if it was Titans or if it was Bills. But I remember it being a playoff game, but it definitely wasn't Houston because McColl made one of the plays that got him going. That kickoff return by McColl Hardman kind of got some juice in the stadium. And I don't remember there being a big mistake in the Titans game early. It was just that they took the 10-0 and then the 17-7 lead. Texas saying, yeah, Bills AFC Championship game, Bills AFC Championship game. Yeah, that's what it was. Yep. Yeah. So they've done it before. And in the Texans game in the divisional round, it's not like they got to let Tyreek Hill know, hey, we're going to go right back to you, Tyreek. You fumbled the punt. Don't worry. We're going to get you involved in the game. Yeah, because it's Tyreek. Yep. All right, we take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk with Kent Swanson, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. That comes up next.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Turned out he went 20 minutes in his opening monologue. Like, come on, that's too long. You don't need to be talking for like 20 minutes in a monologue, guy. I mean, jeez Louise. Let somebody else have the mic a little bit.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, 913-912-4810. You know, we've got the smartest listeners. Thank you to all the texters. You know, it was the, as I said right before the break, it was the Bills and Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. And I couldn't remember the details, but a couple of the texts coming in. So then I went back and watched that and looked at the play-by-play as well. So it was the first quarter. Chiefs are down 3-0. They go 3 and out. Bills get the ball. They end up punting, and McCole Hardman muffs the punt. Bills recover at the 3-yard line. Very first play, Josh Allen to Dawson Knox touchdown. They missed the extra point. They're down 9-0. Chiefs get the ball back, down 9-0. And then that drive, they get down to second and goal from the 3, and that's the pass down the line of scrimmage to McCole Hardman to score the touchdown. And one of those, see, you're good. And Mahomes talked about that after the game. I remember the details now. I just couldn't picture it in my mind. Of those particulars. So thank you to all the texters letting me know. Kent Swanson, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Kent, you probably would have told me the same thing if I said, I'm trying to think back. There was a game. It was a playoff game. It was an important one. McCole had made some sort of a mistake, a fumble or something, and then they went back to him and he got a touchdown. We were talking about the Pacheco thing. You probably would have told me, yeah, it was the Bills. He muffed the punt, you idiot.
No, I was learning as you were.
Okay, all right.
Hey, I'll give you some grace here, buddy.
That's how spoiled we are. There's so many playoff games that they have played in and wins and coming through in certain which playoff game was it that there was a mistake made and then they came back and they won the game and the mistake didn't matter and they got the guy right back in the game? Which one of those playoff wins was it with Mahomes? I can't remember. Yeah, very spoiled we are.
There was a scenario. Here's a little trivia. There was a scenario with the running back. Almost the exact same thing that happened with a running back in the last 6-7 years, where he fumbled and then came back to have a breakout performance. Do you remember that one?
Kareem Hunt.
There you go.
First ever time he touched the ball, right?
Yeah,
and he fumbled.
I think you might be right about that.
Wasn't it like he's never fumbled before, and then like his first touch as an NFL player, he fumbles, and then that might have been the last time he ever fumbled. But he was amazing that night against the Patriots, right?
Yeah, he went off. Mm-hmm. He went absolutely off that day. He was catching balls out of the backfield. I remember he ran that little seam route. Oh, great!
If you didn't give me all of the hints along the way, the running back early in the game. Breakout performance that night, then I wouldn't have been able to land on Kareem Hunt at that point. But the hints helped me out along the way.
Well, this is why Stump the Chumps is in the afternoon, right?
That's right. Yes, absolutely. Kent Swanson is our guest here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. All right, so the Chiefs have taken care of business in winning games since they dropped the game to the Bills. They find a way to get past the Titans. They find a way to not find a way, but it was businesslike against the Jags. Let's quickly recap, put a bow on the Jags game and a takeaway from that, and then look at the team overall and look ahead to the Chargers. So, what do you take away from that Jags game where they end up winning by 10? It was close to what the spread was. They still cover, but it started out to where they were just simply, it felt like it was going to be a dominating performance.
Yeah, not a ton of sweeping declarations from that game. Very workmanlike. Don't think Andy was, bringing the fastball the entire day. They managed that game and they were in control for the entirety of it. Mm-hmm. Jags really didn't have a ton of chances, but the thing that and they tried. I mean, they stole possession to start the game. It didn't matter, but. The thing that I think the biggest takeaway for me from that game is just Kadarius Toney. Getting to see him find a role, getting involved in a big capacity. Mahomes giving him some opportunities to kind of get some confidence and also earn some more trust from him, I think is going to pay dividends moving forward, especially you look at what's going on with the receiver position this week with some of the injuries. They might need him in a big way this week.
Yeah, let's go back to the trade of Kadarius Toney, and I've already said on the air that I was wrong in my immediate assessment of what I thought Kadarius Toney was going to be for the Chiefs, and maybe I was too blinded by Josh Gordon and what took place and the hope and excitement around what Josh Gordon could be, and then ultimately not really doing much of anything, even though he was starting games and he just wasn't putting up any numbers whatsoever and wasn't even getting targets, that it was, okay, they trade for this guy. Yeah, he's got some ability and he showed some flashes, but two different regimes in New York gave up on him. I was very tempered in my excitement, enthusiasm, or really analysis of what I thought Kadarius Toney could bring. 2 weeks in, only 2 weeks, but he's already surpassed what I think his impact could be this year. I was more in line of, yeah, it could help this year, but it's going to be, next year and the year after that because of the free agent market. So we didn't get a chance to talk, but take me back to they trade for Kadarius Toney, what you thought the impact would be. Like, okay, I'm putting it on record. This is what I think he's going to be this year, whether that's receptions or yards or whatever, versus what you may feel about it now.
Yeah, I didn't have a ton of high expectations for him coming into this year. I definitely thought it was more of a long-term move, but man, I think he definitely in the same boat with you. I think he's exceeded my expectations for what he was going to be able to do in year one. And I don't think I blame anybody for having any hesitation or concern either about him and all that, because there's just a lot of mystery surrounding it. There's some big question marks, and it's very clear that he had some issues with the Giants organization, and I don't think he wanted. I mean, he's very clear and apparent he didn't want to be there. Mm-hmm. Maybe it wasn't the most good faith, attitude when he was there. But by all indications, he's moved past all that, and he's been a model teammate here in Kansas City, and he's really turned some heads and impressed a lot of people within the building, which is why I think you're seeing him get some opportunities so quickly.
Yeah, Mahomes said that he's been in the building as much as he has. Mahomes saying Toney has been in the building as much as Patrick Mahomes has since they traded for him. And Travis Kelce on the podcast, listening to that last night, talked about that the first impression of Kadarius Toney is how professional he is when he got there, just how professional he's been. And you wonder if it's like, okay, Mahomes is saying, this guy's been in the building as much as me. Travis Kelce saying, I mean, what stood out? His professionalism, how quickly he was bought in. This is what I'm going to do. This is the time I'm putting in. And you wonder if maybe reputation precedes him, that maybe the players around the facility, Kent, in the locker room, maybe had a preconceived expectation or opinion on what Kadarius Toney might have been, and then seeing what he is now. And then the reaction from Kelce in the podcast being, I have no idea how he got out of New York and how Brett Veach was able to get him here, but I love that it happens. I do wonder if there's a little bit in the locker room of that same sort of thought and curiousness that those on the outside had about what Toney would be.
Right. Well, in that podcast, I think Kelce even cites, hey, this guy, too, he kind of just talked a little bit about how there was probably a little bit of a preconceived notion there, too. About him. So, I found that kind of interesting as well. But, yeah, I think, there probably is more, there is more context than what we have on the outside looking in. But with the information we kind of had looking at it, it's okay, two regimes didn't want, he had problems with two regimes. He's been, super hurt, and, he hasn't been able to stay on the field consistently. But there seems to be a lot more context to that probably got missed that, we aren't privy to, because doesn't seem like he's as hurt as, and maybe the injuries concerns are a little bit more overstated than, we kind of all anticipated on the outside looking in. And, what he's shown with his, fresh start seems to indicate a guy that's willing to put in the work. So I'm glad he's here. And, I don't think that there's not a better football player that the Chiefs were going to be able to get with the Ryan Poles pick that they traded away in the third round.
No, I totally agree with that. Kent Swanson, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast is our guest. It becomes even more important with the question marks around the wide receiver group this week, with MVS not practicing with illness, Mecole Hardman an abdominal illness, and then Juju Smith-Schuster in concussion protocol. The wide receiver group may look pretty interesting on Sunday night if those three guys can't go. I asked Adam Teicher on Tuesday, who's like the number one receiver? And I know Patrick Mahomes, it's like whoever's open, throw the ball to him. But who becomes as a receiver like the more times than not the first read on different plays after Kelsey? Who is it if MVS, Juju, and McColl don't play on Sunday?
Kelsey again. No.
And then Kelsey and Kelsey.
And then Kelsey. Yeah. It'll be interesting. It'll be kind of interesting to see. I think that Tony might.
That was
Tony
that. That was Tysher's answer. He said, "I think it's Kadarius Toney. I think he'd be the go-to guy."
I could see it. It does seem like Mahomes has pretty good rapport with Justin Watson too.
Yeah.
I think what winds up happening, if the receivers trend the direction that they're trending, boy, it's looking like a Noah Gray and Jody Fortson game. I think there's some things that you can get those guys involved. It could be a big Jerick McKinnon game as well, trying to get him involved in the passing game. I mean, there was a stretch last week, and I think he was either second. I think he might have led the team in targets last week, if I remember correctly too. So, there's some guys that they can kind of get involved in the aggregate, but I don't think there's a primary target that they're really going to be focusing on from the receiver group. It's just going to be a committee, I think, and I think you're going to see guys that maybe aren't in the receiver position getting involved a little bit more than we're anticipating.
Yeah, McKinnon with 8 targets, Kelsey with 7, Kadarius Toney with 5. And I think, we see that number with Toney with 5, and that would be no McCole Hardman and no Juju when, he was getting some of those targets. I mean, the touchdown, Juju was in the game, and he was as Mahomes said, the 5th read on that, or 5th option, and he ends up scoring there. But 5 targets, I mean, it kind of gives it away there. If there's no MVS, no Juju, and no McCole Hardman, who's the number one target? Well, it's going to be Kelsey. After that, it's a good point. It might be McKinnon. And then I said earlier in the show that, if you're in a deeper, fantasy league, that this may be a week to take a chance if you've got Noah Gray, or if he's out there, you've got an issue at tight end. Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, both, out for extended period of time from this past weekend. If you got an issue at tight end and bye week, Noah Gray might be a guy to pick up and play this weekend on the off chance, since Patrick Mahomes has talked about him. Travis Kelce's talked about him. He gets the touchdown last week, and now I think there's going to be a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets this weekend if we get closer and the wide receiver group is trending like we talked about. It's a big if at this point, but it could be one of those to where, you know what, I'm going to take a chance and start Noah Gray in fantasy if I need somebody to step up.
He's played well the last couple of weeks too. Mm-hmm. I think he's trending in the right direction. You saw, I think, a 3-catch, 45-yard performance 2 weeks ago, and then two catches, 20 yards, and a touchdown this week. He's playing better, and you hear some of the glowing reviews you get about him. I mean, I like it. I think it's a good idea, and I mean, it seems like he's kind of taken over for Jody Fortson a little bit in some of those opportunities too.
Visiting with Kent Swanson, KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com, and also the KC Laboratory podcast. All right, you wrote about the rookies and their performance in the win over the Jaguars. One of those rookies that performed well then goes into a bigger conversation about the Chiefs' running game, and that is Isaiah Pacheco. We heard Andy Reid after the game say, well, it's just kind of how it worked out. We wanted to get Pacheco in the flow of the game, and it wasn't a plan for Edwards-Helaire to only play 4 snaps and not carry the ball. And then Andy Reid yesterday saying, well, it was just, unfortunate in the timing that Edwards-Helaire is out there for the possession and it's a 3-and-out. And, hey, we don't go 3-and-out very often. You think that was just something that, it kind of just worked out that way? Or was this kind of the plan going into it that, we're going to give Pacheco every chance to show whether or not he can be a guy with more touches, more carries, that gets into the flow of the game and can be somebody you can rely on to pick up yards?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 2 targets on that 3-and-out, by the way.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think there's some validity to it. I actually said, I think during our show on Monday night that, I think there's going to be some moments where I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire gets more involved, and there are going to be some Clyde Edwards-Helaire quote-unquote games, I think. But I don't know if he's ever going to lead this team in snaps again. I don't know if he's going to be a guy that carries the workload in a big capacity. I think he'll get his opportunities and he'll make some plays for this football team before the season's said and done. But I think the writing's kind of been on the wall for, what Isaiah Pacheco can do for this run game versus what Clyde Edwards-Helaire can. And there's questions. I don't think Isaiah Pacheco. I think he's been great for a 7th-round rookie so far, but he's not the perfect running back. But what he does do is he's violent and physical at the point of contact, and there's some tough yards that he's capable of getting, and there's some violence to how he runs that I think the team really needs. And I think you saw him reward this team with a really strong performance this week and something to build off of. And he'll be healthy down the stretch because he hasn't been used in a big way to this point. But I think there's still a value for Clyde at some point in the season. But I think the Chiefs really need what Isaiah Pacheco provides in the run game.
Yeah, I do wonder if how much this was in the works throughout the season of Edwards-Helaire is more trustworthy early on. Pacheco, 7th rounder, continue to see what you have in him. He needs to continue to progress and learn the game because, when the blocks are there, you need to be patient. You can't just simply run as fast as you can into the line of scrimmage. It's not college anymore. So, all of those things need to take place, pass protection, all of that. As they see more and more of Pacheco, that there's more and more of a trust that he can then be the guy. The Clyde Edwards-Helaire carries, again, this just might be circumstance, but I think it's too dramatic in the last 6 weeks to think that it's just random, in that his carries over the last 6 games are 19, 9, 9, 6, 4, 0. I mean, that's not just, it just worked out that he didn't, it was a 3 and out when he was out there. Yeah, but this is a 6-week trend for Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, and I think he's I don't disagree. He's on the downward trend. And I'll be honest, the breaking point for me from a frustration perspective, some of the runs against the Bills.
Yeah.
I think it just showed how glaring glaring issues there are with him as a runner. That just really make it. I mean, the lack of juice, the lack of burst, the things that you were concerned about with him as a draft prospect, they've all showed up in a very big way. But I don't want to say, I don't want to completely, I still think there's going to be some moments for him. It's a long season still. There's still plenty of games. I still think there's going to be a week or two where he's a guy that this team needs to make a few plays, and he's going to wind up doing it. But, yeah, I do think Pacheco's the leader of the committee at this point. But, Jerick McKinnon's got a pretty big role, it seems, as well.
Yeah, he does. And he's led the running back room in snap counts, has McKinnon this year. So they still like him, certainly. It just might feel like it's Pacheco, McKinnon, and then Edwards-Helaire at this point, where it was Edwards-Helaire, McKinnon, Pacheco early in the season. So, and I'm perfectly fine with it because there's a burst, there's a change of direction that we haven't seen with Edwards-Helaire. So I Pacheco continues to improve because he can make a difference in how effective the running game can be, which I think makes a difference in how good the offense can be, and should be the same way this weekend against the Chargers because, every year we talk about this, Kent. Boy, it's a mash unit for the Chargers. Look, they're so banged up right now. Like it's just, at some point, it just stops being bad luck. And it just means it becomes, well, you got guys that are just injury prone. Or, it might be the practices, or it could be the training staff, whatever it might be. Like at some point, it's just like, oh, no, another bad luck year for the Chargers. It happens every single year. But that being the case, they're ravaged on their defensive line by injuries that, 4 guys that played a pretty decent amount of snaps the first go-around won't be out there. Or out for the season, cut, or on IR. So it's a different look and an opportunity for the Chiefs running game to say, okay, here's back-to-back games where they can be effective and efficient when called upon.
Real quick, it kind of feels like there might be something with California and that weather almost. I don't honestly, because we think about the Niners too. The Niners and the Chargers the Niners and Chargers are extremely injury prone. I wonder sometimes if there's something out west with how nice the weather is or something. I don't get it. But the Chargers are depleted, and they always are. I think there's something organizationally or Californially, and I don't know if the Chiefs are going to be particularly healthy as well. We'll find out.
Yeah.
But I'm still terrified of this game. I think I saw some early lines of the Chargers being 7-point dogs. Man, I don't know if I feel that good about this game. I think this is going to be a slog because the magnitude of this game for the AFC West, the magnitude of this game for the Chiefs and Chargers is just so big that I think you're going to get the kitchen sink from the Chargers regardless of who's out there.
The line is now 6. So yesterday it was 6.5. Today it's 6, and that might just be like, okay, so you see Mike Williams and Keenan Allen actually on video yesterday practicing that. Okay, if those guys are out there, it's going to be a closer game, so I'm going to put money on the Chargers if I'm getting 6.5 and they're at home and their backs are against the wall, and if they lose this game, then they've essentially, they're eliminated from winning the AFC West. I mean, you're down by 4 games with 7 to play. Like, that's not happening with the Chiefs the rest of the way. So you've lost the division if you lose this week. So I can see why the number is coming down, and also with the Chiefs' injuries at wide receiver. So certainly we'll see what the line ends up looking like coming up this weekend. But you wrote about the rookie, so I want to talk about that with you at kcsn.substack.com. We discussed Pacheco. Leo Chanel looked like, he had a couple of good plays, and it was like, okay, running downhill, getting a sack, busting up a run play. That was good. Joshua Williams certainly looks like he's improving and not afraid to come up and make a tackle. Trent McDuffie's looked pretty good. So, from this Jags game, there certainly is a better feel of the rookie class overall when you see McDuffie out there, Josh Williams, Jalen Watson, Pacheco doing what he's doing, Chanel not being a guy that, hey, why is he even on the field? But I'm glad you wrote about the rookies because that's one of the other takeaways I think from this game is just looking at those guys and seeing the performance they've had through the first 9 weeks and getting opportunities to play and then coming through in some of those opportunities.
The Chiefs have to be thrilled with what they got in the 2022 draft. Just absolutely thrilled. Like, I'm geeked out by how much capable talent that they have put on the field. And, we talk about the Jalen Watsons of the world and the Joshua Williams. Like, Jalen Watson, I should have been in this article too, probably. But I felt like, cheating is continuing to write about literally every single rookie that wound up playing on the field. And I felt bad for Brian Cook too. But this group, what they've been able to get from a value perspective, and from I think Trent McDuffie's probably a blue chip player, just the way he's played and the things that he's doing seem sustainable. But then you just going up and down this draft, you're looking at the value that they've been able to get on day 3 from this group is just outstanding. And that's how you are able to extend a Super Bowl window or create a new Super Bowl window, is when you can find players and capable talent and guys that you can put on the field in round 7, in round 4. And the Chiefs have done that at a position that, a lot of people are going to spend a lot of money on. And the Chiefs have, been able to get away with not spending a ton of money at the cornerback position. But it looks like they might have solved their cornerback position one offseason through the draft. I mean, Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, and Joshua Williams, that trio together for the next 3 seasons after this. I mean, at minimum, Trent McDuffie could be here for much, much longer. But I think that's just, you've got to be thrilled if you're the Chiefs because, they kind of went for the mini reset, and the players that they've got in this group are contributing in such a big way that it might just change the outlook in the window that you can create for multiple Super Bowls.
It's a good point. Like that, I think that may be the bigger picture so far through 9 games and 10 weeks of the NFL season, in that when the Tyreek Hill trade was made, the conversation about, this is going to help them down the road when they do see that relief in salary cap down the road, when the draft picks, if you can take advantage and get it right in picking the players that can come in and help out down the road. But this may be one that hurts early for a long-term gain, and yet 10 weeks into the season that they're the number 1 seed and they've got full control of the AFC West. That might be maybe the biggest storyline of this season so far, that we focus game by game by game and individual parts, but bigger picture, that from where the Chiefs were expected to be when they traded Tyreek Hill, of taking a step back, where everybody else in the AFC was at from what they were bringing in and the arms race, to now it's the same old, same old. Chiefs number one in the standings, and an opportunity with a little less than half the season to go to wrap up the AFC West. And that's the players, it's the coaches, it's the GM, it's all of them. That there was no mini step back this year, at least right now.
Well, yeah, I wrote this preseason. I just wrote a threat to the AFC West, and I think a little bit to the AFC, where I said, look, you guys you're fed up with the Chiefs. You spent a ton of money to try to add pass rushers. You spent a lot of money on aging pass rushers. You went out of your way because you're fed up with the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said it better work this year, because it might not next. And it doesn't look like it's going to work. I mean, this team, every team in the AFC West went out of their way to try to add expensive talent because they're trying to load up for the Chargers. It's in the window of Justin Herbert's rookie deal, and these teams are going out of their way to try to really just go after the Chiefs. And the Chiefs, instead of getting in an arms race for Chandler Jones or probably not Randy Gregory, that probably wasn't in their plans, but they go out and say, okay, you know what, we're going to just hit a little mini reset here. We're going to get more cap healthy. We're going to get younger. We're going to load up with these draft picks, and then getting if they're just the fact they found so much value in day 3 just accelerates this new window, this new era for Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like everything that the AFC West did isn't enough, and that's just unbelievably comforting for the future of this football team, because they're going to be in really good cap shape in the future. By the way, they still have 11 draft picks. They had 13 to play with before they moved for Kadarius Toney, which, hey, guess what? That's another move that you're able to make because you have the kind of assets that you do. It's a master class from Brett Veach. I can't believe he keeps getting better and better at this job as he progresses, and seeing him continue to put his stamp on this football team has been really impressive.
All right, what do you think happens, Chiefs, Chargers? You said this game worries you. It's a 6-point spread right now. What do you think happens in a score that you got in mind?
I think the Chargers cover. I don't think the Chargers win. I think it's going to be a tougher game than what the line indicates. Much like the Niners game, where the Niners were heavily favored against the Chargers, and it was a lot tighter and a lot more contentious than people probably thought. So I have it's going to be something like 27-24. I think the Chiefs will win the football game, but I just think there's reason to be concerned. There's reason to the magnitude of this game's so big. I think the Chargers are going to have to throw a lot at this team. So. Give me the Chiefs winning, but it's going to be a tight one. It's going to be a nail biter.
Yeah, this might be one of those to where you said that Jags business-like and Andy Reid is just like, okay, let's do what we got to do and let's get out of here. That won't be the game plan this week. Chargers throwing the kitchen sink at the Chiefs, and I think Andy Reid will be in his bag and throwing stuff at the Chargers as well to see what they can get accomplished against that depleted defense. So we'll see what happens. Ken Swanson, KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com, and the KC Laboratory Podcast. Ken, you're the man. Appreciate it, sir. Enjoy the football. We'll catch up soon.
All right, man. Catch you later.
Absolutely. There's Ken Swanson joining us again, kcsn.substack.com. You can go there, check out all of the different things that they've written, and the breakdown that Ken Swanson had about the rookies specifically in the game against the Jags. And obviously getting ready for the Chargers this weekend. We take a timeout. We come back. We continue rolling. We'll hear from the coordinators and players coming up later on this hour. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
This is this guy has a rough luck with the mouth.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I will continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Beards heading up until 2 o'clock. 1 o'clock, we got Sports or Leisure. Mick Schaefer leisuring it with us at 1. We'll hear from the Chiefs coming up in the next segment. Dave Tobe, Steve Spagnuolo, and also Eric Bieniemy. I haven't seen who the players may be for the Chiefs today. We'll find out. We know the coordinators will be up there for sure. 913-912-4810. It is an interesting point that, you know, in talking with Ken Swanson, just the bigger picture when he says, you know, a mini step back was what the expectation might have been versus what is going on right now. You know, some of the questions yesterday in the press conference about a rebuild for this Chiefs team when they traded Tyreek Hill, that, you know, going back and thinking at the time and asking the players that were, you know, at the podium, like at the time, well, not, you know, Pacheco and McDuffie or anything, but, you know, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, but discussing like, hey, you know, Tyreek Hill's being traded. Still, the goals remain the same, but when you look at the like reality of the situation, how much can you say, yeah, the goals are the same? Believe me, the goals are the same. And then the players are like, yeah, the goals are the same. You just traded Tyreek Hill. He's the most dynamic playmaker in the NFL. And we're just going to go in this year and say, you know, we're going to win the Super Bowl. We're the favorites to win the Super Bowl. You're like, yeah, we know there's a bigger picture to this. There's a long-term feel for this, that every single year you need to give yourself, for the most part, an opportunity to win. And that's what Brett Veach wants to do, is understand that anytime you have Patrick Mahomes, you've got a chance to win, and you don't want to sacrifice a couple of seasons of Patrick Mahomes' career for a couple of other years. Because every year, you could win it with Mahomes. But also understanding that there needs to be an aggressiveness to it. Okay, well, it can't work out with Tyreek Hill. So the thought is, look, maybe this is just a season where the Chiefs are pretty good. Do they make the playoffs? Do they go to the Super Bowl? Odds say no. In Super Bowl playoffs, Bart Scott would say no, but he was wrong. But not the same sort of level that we have seen as being like, you know, the betting favorite. And through 9 games, all we're doing is looking at the Chiefs with the number 1 seed and wrapping up the West this weekend with a win. Through 10 games, they could have the AFC West done. I mean, that's a credit, obviously, to the players for going out and playing the way that they did. It's a credit to the coaching staff, and it's a credit to Brett Veach and having a team and you know, building a team, drafting some of the players that have turned out to be pretty good, stepping into those roles and performing. And as good as it's been, by the way, you know, the second round picks haven't really. Brian Cook's been better than Sky Moore. Like, Sky Moore was the one that we were really excited about. Like McDuffie and Karlaftis and Sky Moore, those were the guys that I was pumped to see what they could be. And McDuffie has looked the part, and Karlaftis has the motor, getting pressures, had a couple of knockdowns in the game against the Jags, pass defense in the game against the Jags, but the sacks are not there. And Sky Moore just hasn't really done anything except for the muffed punts. That's it. So if he starts to develop, hopefully that's the case, then yeah, the draft class looks even better. But the bigger picture is this is not a step back year. This is not a rebuild year. Chiefs still have everything that they want to play for, and being the number 1 seed right now, they're the team to beat. They're the best team in the AFC. They're the best team in the NFL. Whether Vegas has Buffalo or the Chiefs as the favorites to win the AFC, Chiefs are the best team right now. We'll see what happens the rest of the season, but there is no mini rebuild. There is no step back this year without Tyreek Hill. It's next man up, keep it going. Same expectations. Go win games. Go win the division. Go win a Super Bowl, because that's what it's about in Kansas City with the Chiefs, is the bigger picture. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from the coordinators and the Chiefs coming up next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Here we are standing today. Excuse my language. We're a couple of days away from kickoff. Man, that slipped.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, so we'll hear from the coordinators today. And then also, we have some assistant coaches. No players today. But along with Steve Spagnuolo, Dave Tobe, and Eric Bieniemy, defensive line coach Joe Cullen, defensive backs coach Dave Merritt, and running backs coach Greg Lewis. Hey, Greg, is Edwards-Helaire done? I don't think that'll be the question. Certainly talk about Pacheco and McKinnon. Maybe talk about Ronald Jones. Did he know that Brett Veach put in a waiver claim on Eno Benjamin? Greg, were you notified? Was anybody notified that Eno Benjamin was somebody that Brett Veach wanted to bring in and be a part of the running back group? Were you told about that? Andy said no. Still wondering from you. Dave Tobe first, and then Steve Spagnuolo, then Eric Bieniemy, and then Joe Cullen, Dave Merritt, and Greg Lewis. So Joe Cullen can weigh in on Colin Saunders and Chris Jones and getting Frank Clark back. Carlos Dunlap's 100th sack. George Karlaftis, what he's done so far this year in pressuring, but can he get to the quarterback to bring him down? Has the half sack so far. So we'll hear from him. Cornerbacks certainly have been a story throughout this year, and defensive backs overall, just because of the young guys and the Fab Five that they call them that are back there. And was it Trent McDuffie yesterday saying that they line up in third down package, and he looks out there and he's like, there are 4 rookies in the defensive backs out on this field right now. Him, Watson, Williams, and Cook. 4 of the 5 of the Fab Five are out there on the field, and they're holding their own. They are not getting exposed, although this weekend will be a real test against a quarterback that can make all the throws with the arm that he has, and if Mike Williams and Keenan Allen play. I should say it'll be the test if Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both play. Because then we'll find out just how good and stout the defensive backs are. And being in the right place and covering and doing some of the things that Steve Spagnuolo wants them to do. Still an unknown with the limited participant with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Although the video that was out there of Keenan Allen looked like he would be playing this weekend. He looked fine in the different drills they were doing, but he's also not going full speed in a game and testing the hamstring. He looked good in the drills that they were performing in the game. But he was still limited. He's going to be limited in the next couple of days. We'll find out. But that's a huge difference in the game if Mike Williams and Keenan Allen can both play. Because then you would have those guys as threats, to go along with Austin Eckler. Whereas last week, the main threat is Austin Eckler, then DeAndre Carter, and that's kind of it. So it makes a huge difference, and it puts more pressure and stress on the defensive backs, and we'll see if they step up. Typically, I'm a guy that's like, no, I'll take all the injuries, and the best players don't have to play. Don't really need that. Don't care if it's they were hampered by injuries. Oh, did they win? No, they didn't. Okay, cool. Move on to the next week because the team that rooting for recovering did win. That's fine. This is one of those weeks for some reason. Like I'd be good if Mike Williams and Keenan Allen played because I really want to see what they look like. It'll make the game closer. I still think the Chiefs will win, and maybe I would regret those words on Monday if they play and they ended up, losing. So, McCole Hardman missed practice or will miss practice today. Juju Smith-Schuster will miss practice today. Chris Lamons will miss practice today. But it sounds like MVS will be there. So no Lamons, McCole, or Juju at practice. And Lamons and Juju in the concussion protocol. McCole Hardman with the abdominal illness. Here's Dave Tobe.
Wow. Any reason for that?
Is it safe to say Kadarius Toney going forward is going to be your punt returner?
Yeah. Right now he's. I can't wait to see him get a ball kicked to him. We haven't had that option really. I mean, they did a good job last week of using the sidelines and hanging the ball up pretty good. So, sooner or later he's going to get one kicked to him. We're going to find out what he's got. I got a pretty good feeling about it though.
Does it make you nervous at all, where he just lets the ball fall and then he'll go grab it and try to run real quick?
Well, he's got to do a little bit better with some reads, but he'll that's part of the learning experience. He's young, and he's going to get better and better. But he's something with the ball in his hand. So
Just to be clear on that, so that's not a style. That's not like
No.
I can wait and catch it on the
No,
run.
no.
You'd rather settle under it, catch it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some reads that he's got to make, and he could have like a pre-punt read that he could make to kind of get a jump on the ball that he didn't necessarily do a good job of in that game. That he'll do better next time, and then he'll be there waiting on the ball instead of letting it bounce. The thing that I like about him, he's very courageous. I mean, there's no question about that. No, we just got to pull him back a little bit. He's anxious. He wants to get going. He wants the ball in his hands. So, I'm just excited when he does get one kicked to him.
Well, at the beginning of the game, the onside kick before that you guys have different captains every week. And instructions are told to them out there. Just take us through what happened there, and then.
Okay, I'm gonna take the full blame on that because I'm the one that gives the instructions to the captains. So it's my job to make sure it's clear exactly what we want to get done. We had a communication problem there, obviously. If we win the toss, we want to defer. That's what we do. So it was something that. It's an honest mistake that happened, a communication problem, and that's on me.
The part where you guys do have different captains, that's an honor for the guys to get
Yes.
out there and do that. Does that complicate the issue at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's different than a lot of teams. We have different guys out there, and some guys never done it before, and we have to, like we talk about, like, who's going to speak this week? Like, who's going to be that guy? And some guys never done it before. So it's a learning experience that, I have to get them coached up a little bit before, and we have to make sure we get the right call made there. So
with the onside kick, just how much do you go through that scenario, and how sort of surprising is it from a number standpoint to have an onside to start the game?
Yeah, it's we practice it. I mean, obviously that's why we have guys in that zone right there. They just have to see the ball kicked, and instead of they didn't see the ball kicked, they were watching it, but they really weren't watching it. And I didn't remind them. So that's my fault. I have to remind them every time. And I didn't. And in that case, so, I'll take the blame on that too.
I know your preference would be to have Isaiah returning every kickoff, but
Yeah.
is his workload now getting to the point? I know Sky returned one the other day.
Sky returned one because in that scenario he's on the hands team, so he's in there for that situation. I mean, we're going to start looking at other guys too as well, but I really like Isaiah back there. He's dangerous, and it's really not bad for him to start, out back there and get the game going for him a little bit rather than just start off on offense. So, I think right now we're pretty comfortable with him being back there. We're not getting a lot of returns.
He runs down on kicks too, and I noticed that
He did,
he
but
got a little gimpy and he didn't.
We took him out. That's the first thing we're going to take him out on. To be honest with you, would be kickoff. We'll take him off a kickoff, and probably going forward here, unless he's getting less reps on offense, but because he was effective there too. He did a good job in there. So he's a good football player. We're going to keep him on kick returns though.
Coach, the theory on the punts where the kicking team touches it first.
Yes.
Your coaching points are only good things can happen at that point.
Well, if they touch it, it's an illegal touch. Now we can pick the ball up, free return. So that's what we were trying to do in that case. They got to make sure they see it, hit the guy. It's got to be clear. So once they see the ball hit him and the ball's rolling around on the ground, we're going to try to pick it up and return it. Team last year returned one for a touchdown. I can't remember who it was, but they picked it up and ran it back for a touchdown. So that's a scenario that we look for. That's what happened in that case. It looked like we were being dumb, but really we were being smart. And then we ended up, the ball was going to be downed on a 1, and we ended up getting the ball in the 20, so we picked up 20 yards. So.
Coach, I mean, your whole operation is nuanced, right? There's more different little quirks in your neck of the woods than there is anywhere else.
Yes.
I'm not talking about this, just in general. You ever had a guy that you're like, he can't get it. We got too many things, and there's just a guy you can't reach. You can't get him to understand.
Sometimes, sometimes, but it takes a lot. I mean, I'm gonna extend myself as a coach to try to bring out the best in all the players. Sometimes, it just doesn't penetrate on some guys, but we're not in that situation now. I mean, we don't have anybody like that.
I'm just asking theoretically, right? It's for next week. No, I'm just kidding.
I hear you.
But can you get enough reps in practice or in training camp to kind of figure out who is and who isn't? Or
well, I mean, at this point now, I mean, we have 12 games under our belt plus training camp. So, I tell the rookies, we have a lot of rookies, but I tell them, you're not rookies anymore. I mean, it's time now. I mean, we have to perform. It's not, there's no excuse. those excuses are gone. So, I mean, any mistake we make now, it's because, they're just not putting it all together. So.
Let's go 3 more. Hervey, Adam.
Go ahead.
Coach, Chris Lamons is one of your core guys.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't play this week because he's still in the concussion protocol, how do you go about replacing a guy like that?
It's hard to replace him with one. We don't have one guy that can replace him in all the spots. So we'll ask a couple guys to fill in. Like one guy will take 2 of his spots, and another guy will take another 2. But yeah, that's a big loss for us. He's a potential Pro Bowl player. He's the one that we put up there to get votes as that guy. So he's an important guy to us. If he doesn't play, somebody has to step in and take his role.
Let's go, Adam.
Coach, with playing at SoFi Stadium, there's a couple other stadiums similar to the indoor venue. How does that change maybe the punting for Tom Townsend and maybe the return guys with the indoor?
Yeah, the indoor, it's a perfect vacuum. It's a little bit of, it's kind of they have like a little bit of breeze in there, but it's not bad. It's not going to affect the ball. So, we take that factor away. You don't have to worry about the wind really. So the balls will hang a little bit more, and the guys should have success our guys should have success. And then the punt returners, we have, it's going to be tough to get returns because the ball will be hanging up. So we have to do a good job of blocking the gunners.
Coach, you spoke about it briefly, but that Lamont play was a next level heads up. That doesn't happen very often. As a coach, how gratifying is that he netted you 18 yards in that play?
Well, I was glad the way it turned out, and I said, were you sure that he touched it? He said, yes. I was sure that he touched it. So I mean that we knew we were okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, there's Dave Tobel here from Steve Spagnuolo coming up next, and then Eric Bieniemy and some position coaches after that. An interesting ask about Kadarius Toney. Like, is he a guy that, is that strategy to let it bounce or to be over there near it? And he's like, no. He needs to make some of those reads pre-punt instead of waiting and having it bounce, which is interesting because Kelsey was kind of talking about that. Here's Steve Spagnuolo.
Afternoon, morning. How's everybody doing? So quiet in here. I'm ready for a little energy. I don't have anything to say. I'm going to jump in. The only thing that came to mind of me this morning that I did want to say was I was really proud of the unit in the very first series of the game last week. That's not easy. They recovered the onside kick, and usually that can go a little bit and it's 3 points or whatever. But to get them to punt the football, I thought was really good. We've got some other things we need to clean up, but I thought sometimes that goes unnoticed because it happens so early in the game. But all right, having said that, I'll open it up.
Coach Colin Saunders really seems to be kind of coming into his own.
Yeah.
Where does he fit into the mix? Are you trying to get him more reps?
Yeah, Joe and I talked about that. I think his play tick went up from. I know in this last game, and we had talked about that during the preparation week last week. Yeah, he certainly deserves that. You're right. He's played well. He stands out. Of course, anytime you get a sack, everybody starts to notice. But he's done a lot of other good things in the run game that have really helped us. But I like the way Colin has progressed and played this year.
You had 5 sacks, 3 of them came from the defensive line. I mean, do you feel like you're getting more from just the
Yeah.
4 and maybe don't have to be quite as
Yeah, I mean, I've felt that all along. I don't count the sacks as much as I count the pressures. And I tell you what's just as important, and I just read somewhere where George has a bunch of them, is those pass breakups are huge. There was one, the very first third down in this past game. I think it was the first one, third down. They ran a route that kind of made it challenging on the coverage that we were in. It was kind of wide open. And if George doesn't knock it down, it's at least the first down. And then it might have been on that first drive, the one I was just talking about. So that was huge. So at any rate, am I happy that we're getting sacks? Yeah, because it's negative play. But as long as we continue to pressure the quarterback, hit them, get pass breakups, make sure that they're incompletions and not completions, I'm good with that.
Coach, you learned about Jalen in not having Trent. Same type of thing, these 2 games without Frank. What do you think you learned about some of the other defensive in the sense of with Trent being out, you learned what Watson can do. What did you learn about the defensive linemen that kind of filled in for Frank?
I got you. Yeah. Well, listen, Malik. I thought Malik had a couple of good plays. He doesn't get as many reps because Joe's rotating. You've got Carlos and you got George, and Mike Dana, who are always in there. And Mike Dana had a solid game. But in answer to your question, we've learned a lot about Malik that we wouldn't maybe not have known had he been inactive in every game. But I thought he played the run real well. He's not in there in as many third down passing situations, but I like the way Malik has progressed.
And how eager are you to have Frank back?
Yeah, I mean, we like Frank's juice, and he gives us something off of the edge. And I thought he was kind of finding a groove, before he hit the suspension. And I just hope he can get back into that. Sometimes you got to knock a little bit of rust off, but hopefully there won't be a lot of rust to knock off.
This is a couple of really strong performances back-to-back against some good run-heavy teams.
Mm.
What have you kind of learned about your run defense?
Yeah, I do know this. I mean, I was really impressed with the Tennessee. I know, I think it was the second quarter, got a little bit shaky, but I talked about that this week. When our mindset is right, and as a unit collectively, we say we're going to stop this, we're not going to let them do that, and we've got some good leaders in that regard. I think we can do that. This week it might be a little bit different challenge because they got all kinds of threats and another really good quarterback. But yeah, happy with the way we've played the run.
Coach, talking about that quarterback, in their first couple seasons, a lot of people would really compare Patrick Mahomes to Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
He hasn't obviously had those pretty post-game runs like Mahomes has, but that's a guy you don't work with every day in practice, but your defense sees every day.
Yeah.
Do you see the comparison between them in terms of passing, or?
I'll be honest with you. I've never thought of it in that terms.
Really?
I really haven't. I mean, I just see every quarterback differently, and I know we go against a good one all year long in OTAs and training camp and all that. I just really haven't done that. For me to sit here and speculate, we're just defending number 10. Thank God, not number 15, right? And I think he's pretty good. I mean, look he can do anything you're going to ask a quarterback to do. I think he's managing the game real well in our game because you go back and look at him. He got protections right. He gets the ball out really quick. He's a big guy. He's hard to bring down. It was last year, the years run together here, but I know Nick, had him down the goal line. And you couldn't even get the guy down. He gets it off because, it was last year, right? So I got a lot of respect for him.
This group that you're facing, they had a reputation of going for a lot of fourth downs and things like that. You guys have faced a lot of fourth downs.
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville didn't really test you that way last week. Do you know week to week? Because when you guys faced the Chargers earlier this year, it didn't seem like they were that mode again. Or what have they been
Maybe
like
not
the
as
rest
many
of
as they had done the year before, right? I tell you what, we always plan for them for a couple different reasons. It's the kind of the wave of the league, and certainly in certain situations. And I think, if you're on the other sideline, I know some of our thinking would be keep number 15 off the field as much as you can, right? And one way to do it is to kind of earn another first down. So we plan on them. We've got 2 scheduled in practice today that I just talked to the guys about. So, and we talk about fourth down on Tuesday of every week. It's one of the first things we do.
A couple more.
What challenges? Mike Williams, it seems like you guys had good coverage on him, but he goes up and wrestles the ball away. Is there
he's
a different approach to take?
Put 3 guys on him instead of 2. We talked about it this morning. Dave and I did. There's a couple different ways to double a guy, and yet you can't double him on every play. And at some point, some guys got to battle, and just got to find. He's such a strong. He's so strong with his hands, and even when you're in great position, it was early in the game here last time we played him. Jalen was in really good shape. And, might kind of outmuscle a little bit. But maybe, haven't seen him. Our young guys haven't seen him already once. Maybe that'll help. Trent hasn't seen him yet, so we'll see how that goes. But our guys will fight. I know that. And we're playing against a really good receiver, so hopefully we can win more than we lose on that.
You mentioned Trent. He's been back a couple weeks now. How impressed are you seeing from him after he's missed so much time?
Yeah, I tell you, he's really sharp. Really sharp. And I remember talking to Coach Lake before the draft about a couple plays he had, and Trent was one of them. And he mentioned that. He didn't skip a beat in terms of the mental part of it. It took a little bit to get going, he had the one play that they got him on. I think he'll tell you that he probably looked for the ball too early, but he was stride for stride with him, and he had a couple other key pass breakups that were huge in the game. So I was really happy the way he played. I'm glad we got him.
Really unique challenge. Is there a key to Eckler and defending him? Do you got to be worried about over pursuing and so on?
Yeah, it's as much as his run part of it is as his throwing, right? He's become obviously a favorite was always a favorite of the quarterbacks, but when they had a couple of guys down, his tick as far as targets went way up. A guy that we're concerned about, a guy we've talked about, we'll work third down today, and number 30 is going to be first thing I put up on yesterday morning was everybody needs to know where 30 is, linemen included. That's how much we respect and know how good he is.
Last one. Anybody? Great.
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
All right, there's Steve Spagnuolo. Eckler, number 1. Number 30, number 1 to pay attention to on third down. become a favorite. Targets up. They're concerned with him on third down, and the first thing that they talk about also first thing every Tuesday is fourth downs, and going to do that again today as well. Here's Eric Bieniemy.
All right. Good afternoon. Hope all is well with everybody. Hopefully everybody's having a great week so far. Feels good coming off a pretty good team victory just from this past weekend. I thought our guys did a heck of a job, but now our focus is on this AFC West opponent, who's a very good one at that. All right. With all that said, I'm all ears. Did you go to Vanderbilt?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I had that. The first thing I saw black and gold. So, I was thinking Colorado. I'm like, oh, he would Vanderbilt.
Hey, Coach, one of the things that we've been talking about a lot is, Clyde hasn't had as many carries and the snaps have gone down. But I was up in the press box last week, and after Isaiah had fumbled the ball, I looked down with my binoculars, and I saw Clyde coaching him up a little bit, telling him to keep his head in the game. What does that say about your group of guys, that a guy who is not getting the carries, who's a first-round pick, was there for a guy emotionally on the sideline after he had a big play or a bad play like that?
Well, we always, one of our biggest things, we always want to get the best people who happen to be the best football players. And so team chemistry goes a long way. Clyde is one of those guys. Now, obviously, he hasn't had very many opportunities as of late, but he's still a part of this team, and he understands how important it is to making sure that backs keep their confidence level up. And, I mean, he's had his unfortunate incidents, that have happened in the past, and one thing that we don't shy away from, we want those guys to understand mistakes happen. We don't want them to happen very often, but they happen. Life happens. Now, we're not just going to put you to the side. Now get back out there and show what you can do to get you to regain your confidence. So, but it just goes to show you not only just the chemistry and the people that we have, but also just the culture in which has been established here.
Understanding every game could be different. You guys rushed 19 times. You'd mentioned wanting to rush it more. You think that around 15 to 25 is a sweet spot for your offense?
We could push it up a little bit more, but don't tell Coach Reed. But we always want to do what is best for our team when it's all said and done with. Yes, we do need to run it, okay? And I thought we did a good job of putting our guys in position, but also making sure that we were calling them and giving them the opportunity to go out and play and establish the run game. So that's something that we just got to continue to do and continue to grow with moving forward.
Eric, Patrick leads the league right now in pass attempts out of the pocket. Because there's so many new guys, obviously, on the skill position level in the offense, just how much have you felt like the receivers have sort of adjusted to, obviously, Patrick's play style, and then what have you tried to sort of, I guess, accentuate beyond just what's drawn on the board for that particular play?
Well, that all started during the offseason. Pat's a firm believer in developing chemistry with the group of guys. And so those guys spent a lot of time together this offseason. And they spent a lot of time together in the building when required to be here. But on top of that, these guys, they work at it. And when you have that chemistry, the only thing that you want to do is making sure that you're always on the same page. So if there's anything that Pat wants to approach and discuss, he'll make sure that we'll have this discussion about it with the players and making sure that they're all on the same page. And hey, if this happens, I happen to scramble outside the pocket, we have certain rules for those guys to adjust. I think they've done a heck of a job of adjusting. And just like I said earlier, we have good chemistry. We got good people who are good football players. So the communication, is something that is very important. Those guys do a great job of talking to each other on a continual basis, not just on the field, but also in the classroom. And they spend a lot of time off the field together. So that helps.
Is there a best example in the game this year where the rules were correct, the adjustment was right, the chemistry was put in place, or is there something even in the film room that sort of, further explains all of that?
I mean, there's been a number of times that he scrambled. Who did we play a couple of weeks ago? Clyde slides and makes a play. Noah tips one up and makes a play. So there's been so many of them over the past few weeks. These guys understand exactly where they're supposed to fit. And they also understand that, hey, if he's basically going a certain direction, guys are responsible for being in certain areas on the field. And Pat does a great job. And we've said this before in the past. He has that pilot vision. He can pick you up, and see you and find the open receiver, which those guys know, hey, if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, when he breaks contain and he's on the loose, he will find me if I'm available.
Isaiah took the majority of the reps in last week's game. Is it safe to say that you guys are kind of going away from the running back by committee?
That's not safe to say at all. All of those guys are going to play. And I thought he did a heck of a job last week. I also thought Jerick McKinnon did a heck of a job. That just goes to show you just the depth that we have at that position. But on top of that, it goes to show you that Greg Lewis has done a hell of a job. Those guys are playing their tails off. And obviously, we're going to always roll with the hot hand. And I know that's something that a lot of people don't like to hear. But we always want to do what we feel is best in that particular moment. Now, are we neglecting anyone? No, because those guys know that they have to be ready when called upon. It was just like I had a discussion with our players yesterday. Always tell them, make sure that you maximize any opportunities in the classroom, on the field, in the weight room, and in the training room, because we're at that time of the year where injuries happen. So you may be called upon throughout the course of a game to define your greatness. The question is, when those opportunities present themselves, have you mentally and physically prepared yourself for those particular moments? And so those are the things that we stress, and our coaching staff are harping on that, and that's the things that they have to be ready for.
Eric, are you at all aware during the game that maybe Clyde hasn't been getting any work, or Pacheco hasn't been getting any work, or whatever the case might be?
Oh yeah, there's just like we talk about communication with the players, and there's communication with us as well. And the thing that we're always talking about is making sure that if somebody has a hot hand, let's ride with it. Let's just go with it. But there's always some communication that takes place.
Along those same lines, Coach, how do you think Clyde has handled these last 3 weeks since the shift to Isaiah?
Clyde is the ultimate professional. Clyde comes to work every single day. Clyde doesn't run away from anything. He's working his tail off. And then on top of that, he's helping coach guys up. That's the type of chemistry that we have. If Jerick was in that particular position, you'll see Jerick coaching those guys up, and he's always coaching them up. You'll see Burt take a part of that. But that's the type of team that we have. We all understand that at any given time, someone may be called upon to be great. So it's our job collectively as a team to making sure that those guys understand exactly the situations that they need to be prepared for, but on top of that, showing the support for their peers. That's what team ball is about. That's why I always say this. It's the greatest team game that you can have.
Coach, Andrew Wiley went down. Prince had to step in. Just what you saw from him, what he did, and then is there, how's Lucas Niang looking out on the practice field?
Prince, I thought Prince did a heck of a job of stepping in. Obviously, it wasn't a perfect game, but he came in and he played hard and he fought his tail off. That just goes to show you, giving due respect and their credibility to Coach Heck and Corey and what they do and how well that they have their guys prepared for those defining moments when called upon. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people take for granted outside of these walls. We have an outstanding coaching staff. We got some great teachers. But on top of that, the teachers do a great job of developing the people and then developing the chemistry within the classroom. And that way now when guys go out there, it ain't by chance that guys are going out there and performing up to par. It's because they got great teaching, and then on top of that, they got great support from their peers.
Coach, you now had Yang. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Lucas is practicing his tail off. He's doing good.
Last two, Nate and Pete.
Sorry about that.
Eric, I gotta ask it because you were a former NFL running back, but when you look at film of Jerick in pass protection, is he doing it better than you did at that time?
He's doing an outstanding job, But that's the thing that's probably one of the most underrated deals that people doesn't think about when they mention his name. Jarek has always been a great guy, great pass protector. He did it in Minnesota. Unfortunately, he had the injuries in San Francisco. He's just one of those guys, and I've said this before. You want the best football players who happen to be, the best running backs. He brings a lot to the table. He does a great job in protection. He does a great job of working with the offensive line. And so he's doing a hell of a job. Now, I wouldn't say he's better than me. I know he's for damn sure better than Greg Lewis, though. Nah, he's doing an outstanding job. I had to throw that in.
I figured it was coming. You've had 2 weeks with Kadarius. Just curious, what have you learned about him and what his potential could be in this offense?
First of all, he's a great kid. He's an outstanding kid. He's an outstanding worker. The kid is very, very intelligent. Our job is to make sure that we're not providing too much information to him and exhausted him to whereas he doesn't know what to do. So we just want to continually to bring him along and making sure that he can make the necessary progress that he needs to make. But I thought last week he played good, and he did a heck of a job. The guys he's doing a great job of mixing in with the guys. The chemistry seems to be going in the right direction. So anytime someone has an opportunity to change, and address in this league, sometimes the change could be very, very good for you. And so far, so good. Excuse me. All right. You guys take care.
All right, there's Eric Bieniemy. A lot of ground covered there with EB and the offense and some of the things that we've talked about this week and probably continue to talk about over the next couple of weeks that we will, get into and discuss when we have a little bit more time between these press conferences. Joe Cullen's going to come up here next as the defensive line coach, but was funny with Eric Bieniemy talking about Jerick McKinnon and the pass protection. I wouldn't say he's better than me, but he's damn sure better than Greg Lewis, who will be talking today as well. Here's Joe Cullen.
Beautiful day here in Kansas City, getting ready for a great practice to get ready for the Chargers. And first, I'd like to just say, obviously with the tragedy that happened at the University of Virginia, our hearts and our prayers go out to the families and the people that were involved and Coach Elliott, and lost for words on that one. But with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Coach, you're a little over halfway through this thing now. Anything surprise you about your group so far? Anything that's been pleasantly surprising for you?
Well, I just think it's a really good group from top to bottom, man for man. A lot of guys have contributed, and just got to keep getting better, and they're continuing to do that. Keep working to get better, and just one game at a time.
Chris mentioned how much he jived with you right at the beginning, and he's
Chris said that?
Yeah, and he liked you, liked the way you were coaching him. Has he done anything more than you thought he could do? He seems to rise to the occasion at the big spots of games. Is that kind of what superstars are supposed to do?
Well, I think, one of the things we said way back when I talked in the preseason, for us to have the year we want to have and get to the ultimate goal, Chris would have to have a career year. And what does that entail? It means not just getting after the quarterback, but playing the run, doing the little things, playing with pad level, being physical. And, some of the plays in last week's game, the first – there was a 3rd and 2 where the quarterback liked to keep the ball, and Chris kind of read the play and knocked the guard back, and it was kind of hidden production, as Coach Spags says, and he forced the ball back to Willie and George Kalafdis, and they made the play, and we were off the field. So things like that he's doing a great job of, and he's always been able to rush the passer, but he's impacting the game in different ways.
Joe, Dunlap got to 100 last week, as you know. Could you sense how, he's talked a lot about that, could you sense how important that milestone was for him?
Yeah, absolutely. And Carlos has done a great job. He came here for really an opportunity to be in an organization like this and have an opportunity to win everything. And he's really contributed. But that's a milestone. My hat's off to Carlos. He's worked hard. There's only 41 of them in the history of the NFL, and I think there's 8 active. But I was really happy for him, and it's he was striving for that as a personal goal, but never one where he put that before the team. So you knew it was going to happen if he kept doing what he was doing, and I was really glad for him.
How could you tell it was important to him other than what he was talking about?
I just think anybody when you have 96 coming in another year and to get that milestone, it's like 500 home runs in my opinion. Hitter has 497. He's got another year. He'd like to crank another 3. But, and we talked about that. He obviously wanted to get to that goal. and then obviously, strive to win a championship and help the team win a championship.
I think on that front, didn't he, I think he mentioned to us that that was a goal he told his dad was his goal when he was drafted, and he
Yes, it
shared that
was.
story with you?
Yeah, not particularly, but I know it was a goal, and I know, when Carlos first came, he had to go, go to the graveside of where his dad was buried, and that was something in his heart that he wanted to do.
Couple more.
Colin Saunders has had a really nice year when it comes to breaking out. He mentioned he just hasn't felt healthy. But is there anything else that maybe has unlocked him in a way that you've noticed?
Colin's worked extremely hard from the first day I met him. He's lost weight. He's got himself in really excellent football shape. He came back in tip-top shape, and he's really getting better and better in terms of that aspect. Staying strong in the weight room with Coach Rubin and the guys, and he's really worked hard on the field. He's very smart as a football player, knows what to do, but he's playing at a high level because the game is kind of slowed down from him. He's just really working hard.
Last one, Adam.
Joe, you talked about Carlos going to see his father. Can you share more of that story when he first signed, or what?
No, there was just like I said, it was the grave site. That was something he was going to do, but that's personal to Carlos. But I know the impact of, promising his dad that, obviously led to him wanting to get that goal. And he's been close, in other games, so.
You've coached a lot of good pass rushers. What makes him one of the guys who could get to 100? What is it about him?
Well, one he has a real sense. It's like Terrell Suggs was the same way, staying alive on his rush. Sometimes it's not about beating a blocker one-on-one, just blowing right by him. You got to fight through the down. The coverage the other day was outstanding. It led to him and Chris getting a couple sacks in there. And then just staying alive, working his hands, knowing when to counter back inside. He always stays alive on his pass rush. You never see him just get blocked and stop. He's always working to get to the quarterback. And sometimes he doesn't always beat the guy clean, but he impacts it and knows when to counter back at the level. That's something from afar I've always really admired about Carlos.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Right, there's Joe Cullen, defensive line coach. We'll hear from Greg Lewis, running backs coach for the Chiefs here in just a second when he gets up to the podium. But, boy, some interesting stuff to take away from Joe Cullen as well. There's been pretty good press conference day so far. There's a lot of stuff would love to weigh in on. We'll do that on the other side of the break when we take a break after we hear from Greg Lewis and also Dave Merritt here before the press conferences are over. But talking about Colin Saunders, Chris Jones, he needed to have a career year for them to play the defense they wanted to. Here's Greg Lewis.
Football players, and you get guys who don't get as many carries, and sometimes they can get disgruntled or whatever. From what Coach Bianchi was telling us and what we've seen, everything Clyde's been doing is exactly what you want from a guy who's part of your team, who's maybe not getting the carries you want. How does that culture build to where you're not selfish and you can still be a good team guy even though you're not getting what you want to do on the field?
I think it starts with the people that we bring in, the types of guys that Coach Reed, Veach, and EB bring into this organization. I think they have that mindset. And then just from day one, from me personally, dealing with the running back room and the guys, it is what it is as far as who's going to be out there. It's only one guy that's going out there most of the time, and we're going to support whoever that guy is. And the guys bought in from day one of that mindset and that approach. And when your opportunity comes up, you take advantage of that opportunity as best you can. And that just pushes everybody to be great when they get their opportunity to get out there. And we support each other while they're out there. We're on the sideline cheering for each other. And it's unfortunate at times when you don't get a lot of carries or a lot of catches. But, again, it's one football, and only one person's going to have it at a time. So
It doesn't always work that way, though, right? I mean, you've been in some rooms where guys were a little jealous. I know you coached wide receivers before, but is this a kind of a different feel for guys that more togetherness than you've seen in some others?
It's a great group, and they are very close-knit, and that's awesome to be a part of. Some of the other groups that I've been a part of also were similar. You knew who was going to get the ball when coaching the receiver room or whatever. You knew the types of stuff that we had designed and different things. But if you're out there on the field, if you're one of the 11, you have an opportunity to get the ball. So it wasn't any jealousy or any of that type of stuff. When I was coaching the receivers or the receiver rooms that I've been a part of, everybody is for everybody. It's one common goal, and that's to win the game and get the prize. And everybody's pulling in the same direction from my standpoint, what I've seen.
Coach, where is Pacheco as far as catching the ball? I mean, I know Andy has said it every time, like, you're gonna play for this team, you gotta be able to catch the ball. It looks like, at least his last game, McKinnon was kind of the guy catching it, and Pacheco was kind of the guy running it. Is there work in progress as far as him?
Not at all. Not at all. He has above average hands, just like everybody else in the room. They all can catch the ball and do different things out of the backfield with the ball in their hands. It just happened to be where Jet was getting opportunities to catch passes and Pop was getting opportunity to run the ball, and that's just the way it unfolded. And it changes each game. It's no doubt in my mind or any of the coaching's mind about Pacheco getting the opportunity to catch the ball or Jet or Clyde running the ball. We all know they all could do all the same things and do it at a high level. It's just who opportunity it presents itself for them.
After Isaiah's fumble on Sunday, what was your conversation with him, and what did you see? Did you see any change in his approach afterwards?
My comment to him was to forget about it at that moment. All right, we don't want those things to happen. We don't want bad things to happen. Fumbling the ball, dropping passes. We don't want that. We know who you are. We know what you can do. Go out and do your job at a high level. And he took it to heart with other guys talking to him as well in the running back room. They've all been there before. I've been there before, fumbling the ball. I mean, nobody wants to go out there and do that. It's how you respond. And he responded very well, going out there, running with a mindset and an attitude to, I don't want to say make up for it because it's not, you can't, it's done. But to move forward and to continue to play well, I thought he did a tremendous job with that, and that's a testament to him and his mindset of how he approaches the game.
Were there any technique issues on that play? It looked like he had it covered up right.
No technique issues. The guy put his helmet on the ball, and it came out, and it's unfortunate. He's trying to get through there, and that's just what happened. I mean, he's very secure with the ball, as is all other backs.
Coach, on Edwards-Helaire, obviously he's been your starter over the last 2 years. When the decision was made to go with Pacheco in Week 7, how does that conversation go with a former first-round pick saying, "Hey, we're going to go to Pacheco now"?
Like I said at the beginning, it's not really who starts the game or who finishes the game. Everybody's going to get an opportunity, so it's not a conversation that needs to be addressed or anything. It was already said from the beginning. Whoever we decide to put out there is the guy that we decide to put out there at that present time. Clyde has been fine. It could be his day. It could be Jet's day. It could be Rojo's day. It could be Pop's day. They all know that already coming into this. So it's like we talked about earlier, it's not a this, that, and the other. It's when your number is called, be ready to respond at a high level. And I feel that all our guys have done that in different situations, and then we're just going to continue to work as we go.
Pop came in as a rookie, right?
Yes, sir.
Is he ahead of schedule from where you thought he would be?
No, I don't think he's ahead of schedule. I think he's right where he should be. And to me, I don't look at it as a rookie, as a 10-year vet. The expectation is the expectation. The standard is the standard. And whoever we put out there needs to be at that standard. And he's done a tremendous job of coming in, grasping the things that we're teaching him, and going out and playing football and letting his abilities show, just as the other guys are as well. Like, it doesn't change whether you 8 years old or whether you 55 years old. If you go out there for the Chiefs, it's a standard. And that's the expectation for you to meet.
Go ahead, Adam and Herbie.
Coach, it's more of an atmosphere question. As you're coaching Pacheco, what are some of the things that you can kind of give him as you play in a stadium like SoFi? And then can you speak to the Chiefs fans that come in? It seems like it's almost half red every time that they play the Chargers. You guys play the Chargers. Can you just talk about just some of the coaching points and the atmosphere for it?
Well, I mean, he's played in big games with fans around him, so I don't think the atmosphere is any different. It's like a home game, so to speak, at times, but it doesn't matter if it's a home or away game. If it's nobody there or 1,000 people there or 2 million people there, your job is your job, and we expect you to go out and do that. So I haven't told them anything different about going to SoFi or anything.
Close this out, Herbie.
Coach, EB had mentioned pass protection, and he said we had to ask you about it. So who's the better pass pro, you or EB?
Me or EB? Oh, definitely me. I thought it was about Jet. No, me and EB. No, me and EB. I'll block way better than EB. He'll tell you he got all his techniques and all this different stuff. No, but I go in there, I hit somebody and get the job done. EB, he might. I don't want to say it. No more. Y'all think.
Little rivalry in the pass protection, the blocking, huh? Taking some pride in that. You know, it is an interesting part. Like if you've got your offensive coordinator and your running backs coach arguing over who's a better blocker and showing pride in that, you know, that has to then trickle down, right, into the running back room and those guys about the importance of blocking. And if Jerick McKinnon's talking about the pride that he has in pass protection, then that's got to eventually rub off, you would hope, on a guy like Isaiah Pacheco and Edwards-Helaire and whoever. Here's defensive backs coach Dave Merritt.
Ever since we talked about the fan five or whatever, going back to camp. But are you at all surprised that your young group of players was good enough to where you actually traded away Rashad Fenton, who was a starter for you guys? Have you been amazed or anything like with your group? Was that good to where you could actually get rid of a guy who was kind of counted on to be a starter?
Well, first of all, to Rashad Fenton's defense, I think, number one, when that all came down, that was above my pay grade. And so when you look at this group and as a whole, the 5 guys that we brought in here, all 5 of these guys have had opportunities to help the defense and help the team. And so I'm not surprised at all that they're playing the way that they're playing because, again, faceless opponent in front of us, and that's how we go about it, and that's how we attack it. And so each guy goes out there and try their best to play the technique that's asked of them. And don't make it bigger than what it is, and just trying to teach them concepts constantly. That right there is the one learning curve that the young guys are having to adjust versus the older guys that's been with me is just teaching the concepts. And so, but not surprised.
You use the term faceless opponent. I mean, obviously, you know, you're not going to cover a 5'7" slot guy the same way you're going to cover Mike Williams, right? What are some of the challenges of Mike Williams and, you know?
Size, his catch radius. I mean, so the guy can catch the ball in a radius that most guys cannot because of his size and his arm length. Some of the throws, when you go back to even when Jalen Watson was covering him, the ball placement where Herbert put the ball was in a spot where Mike could only catch it. The one touchdown he caught on LJ, that was down low. I mean, how many quarterbacks can actually place that same ball? Actually, Josh Allen did the same thing on Joshua Williams when he threw it to Diggs. It was the same low ball placement. So guys like Mike, with his size, presents the challenge of trying to, if you get into his body, now can you out-physical him in tracking the football? But when Herbert puts the ball where he was putting it at times, I mean, Watson was in pretty good coverage. It's pretty tough.
You said pretty good coverage. I mean, I think there's some fans that think that you guys are draped all over him. I mean, like, you have great coverage, and he keeps coming down to the ball. I mean, fans would say they can't figure it out. That's, like, unlucky. I mean, you look at it and say, I don't know, there's not much else I can tell you. You're right there.
Well, just like you just did when Michael Jordan was scoring 60 points. You know, it's like, okay, I'm covering him, but what else can I do? You know, you're right there in his face. You're right into his chest. You know, it's only great coverage if you can get the ball out. And so my process for these young men to grasp is to not only be in position to make the plays, but then once you're in position, can you complete the assignment? And on those throws, although the ball may have been placed in a certain radius, I have to teach these young men to get in a position to make that play. It's a lot easier when you're going one hand to glove a football versus trying to go 2 hands. Even that right there, the extension is different. And so it's trying to teach them all the little small details, which is the NFL, 90% mental, where we all have a couple of friends back home who runs a nice 40, who can jump, but do they have the mental capacity to understand what we're trying to teach them and then go out and execute it? Not many guys can, and that's why they're not where these young players are today in the NFL. So we're getting better.
You mentioned Mike Williams, but it looks like they might also have Keenan Allen this week.
They will. They will.
What are some of the challenges? You know, Williams is physical, but what are you telling your young guys about Keenan Allen, who didn't play in week 2?
Yep. As a North Carolina guy, like myself, Keenan Allen, I think he was from Greensboro. This young man, what he brings to the table is a change of suddenness to his game. Up in the air, skipping, and moves that players haven't seen. So when you go in and you're facing a slot receiver, like some of the ones that we've faced in the past, Keenan Allen is a totally different monster. Although he may not be the fastest, but the way he plays and how he creates separation is just Kelsey. on the field. He has a way to get in and out of breaks, and the quarterback can put it in a radius area where he can catch the ball. So his suddenness in and out, stop and go, is something that we haven't faced. So that's the biggest challenge with him, is, as we were watching film this morning on him, it's just his change of pace within a small radius. He doesn't have to go down the field and beat you on a 30-yard catch, because he can eat you up with first downs in critical situations on 3rd and short because of his ability to create separation.
Coach, the crowd for the Chiefs tend to go travel well and being at SoFi Stadium. Do you think it's plays some advantage that half the crowd is actually red, and that it can maybe help some of the young guys with some of the crowd noise and maybe disrupt some of that stuff?
Absolutely, that would help, and I hope that the entire Red Nation comes out to this game, because again, I was showing them the entire group this morning, 3rd down when they were going silent count versus Denver. Obviously, there was a lot of Bronco fans there, so hopefully that can show up for us as well. Normally, when you travel away, the quarterback on offense has a quieter crowd. He can get all of his checks. They can hear our checks. But when our fans travel with us, it makes it that much more difficult for the opposing quarterback to be able to get in and out of checks. And so, come on, Red Nation, let's go. We need you all of us.
Coach, I know you're not, Red Beach and the scouting group.
Yes, sir.
The scouting, but they talk to you about different guys. You've got a good tackling group at corner. That's kind of been something that's been here for a while. How much of that is you're not going to take a guy unless he has that in him?
Yeah.
How much of that is something that you can instruct and maybe even will into a guy to make him, willing to put his nose in there and be a good tackler?
Yeah, fortunately, this young group that we have, and you guys are seeing the tape, these guys, you just teach them a couple of techniques and get them better on angles, such as stepping to contact, such as creating a hard joint down, same foot, same shoulder, when you're going to approach blockers and tacklers. But these young men came here with some techniques and some willingness to tackle, which is great. But now the flip side of that coin is he a dog or not? Is he a guy that's willing to go down and stick his shoulder pad in there? Back when I was playing, they said the other word, which you can't say, F-A-C-E. Now you have to say shoulder pad. So the thing is that all these guys are willing to stick their pads in there and be ready to wrap up. And, the corners have done a fantastic job, from Joshua Williams to L.J. Sneed to Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson. So I commend all of them. They're coaches that coached them before they even got here to this point. And so I'm just trying to help them.
Sorry, Dave, does the guy have to have the willingness to do that?
He does.
For you guys?
He does. I played for Buddy Ryan, and Buddy Ryan, if you couldn't tackle, or if we weren't willing to tackle, you were not going to be on the team. And so, but these guys here, you don't have to browbeat them into tackling. They're willing to do it.
You mentioned Trent. He missed a chunk of games. Seems like he's right back, like he never left. So what are you seeing from him?
Trent, smooth athlete. Everything that was spoken about him in the spring, it's all showing up again. Young man is going outside and he's challenging throws. He made some good plays. He did give up the one pass down the sideline in the game the other day, but he was in the position to make the play. But just smooth and fluid in his movements and very smart. He understands. He's not a repeat offender. And I was telling the entire group today, every mistake that you don't learn from will be repeated. That's just with all of us in life. So I have to continue to remember to put the toilet seat down after 31 years, because if not, I'm going to keep getting smacked on my hand from my wife. So we all have to just learn from our mistakes, but this kid is not a repeat offender. Not saying that he's perfect, but he does a great job. He does a great job.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you. And why does the paper have to go over, ladies, and not under?
Over's better. Over's better.
Guys don't care, right? I care.
Over is the correct answer.
Over is the correct answer. I mean, it's not even debatable. Over is the correct answer. Why would anybody go under? I don't understand it. It makes no sense. Over. Every time. Dave Merritt, wrong side of history. I've always said that about Dave Merritt. Wrong side of history when it comes to toilet paper placement, over or under, and how the roll comes off. He's wrong. Go back to the drawing board, Dave. All right, we can go through the techniques and we'll watch the film. We'll study it, okay? We'll look at the numbers, the analytics. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
History is a long time.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, Sports or Leisure coming up in the top of the 1 o'clock hour. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show. Mick Schaefer will join us in the 1 o'clock hour to play a little Sports or Leisure. A lot of stuff to take away from the press conferences. So, Kadarius Toney, we talked about it earlier because Travis Kelce in the podcast that they have was discussing Kadarius Toney as a punt returner and saying, you know, it's fun to see that a guy that just sort of kind of floats over there and then the ball lands and, you know, he's at last second, he's catching it like a wide receiver and he just kind of has that instinct and then goes and he's at full speed. And it's like, okay, so is that like how he returns punts? Like that's a strategy, or that's kind of his way of doing it, or his style. And Dave Tobe says, no, he needs to be better at making reads. The bouncing and then picking it up and things like not getting over there in time. No. He needs to be under the ball, waiting for it to receive it. Because when Kelce said that, I had talked about that, you know, at the Titans game, when the punt returners were out there, special teams unit was out there, and Kadarius Toney was working out with Watson and McCole Hardman and Sky Moore, and those guys are, you know, warming up and returning punts, and it was like, well, I don't know, Tony's really doing a great job of being able to read these punts. Right. I mean, it's kind of looks like he's last second sort of getting there. And then Kelce saying, boy, it's just fun to watch him do that. So is that like his style? And Dave Tobe's like, no. He needs to be better at making some reads pre-punt instead of waiting, letting it bounce. But loves that he's courageous. He wants the ball, all of that stuff. So that was interesting to hear Dave Tobe was like, no, that's not strategy. That's not something we're teaching him to get over there, make the read, be there waiting for the football to come down. The onside kick, Dave Tobe, both of them said he'll take the blame for the coin flip, that the communication wasn't there. The instructions clearly were not clear enough for the captains to go out there, that if they won the coin toss, they would defer. And then the onside kick, he said he's got to take the blame on that one, that you need to remind those front guys to watch the ball when it's kicked, to actually watch the ball and then start heading back to block after the ball is kicked. And he said, you know, they may be looking at the ball, but they're not really watching it. You can't hear Jimmy. You're listening to Jimmy, but you can't hear Jimmy. You're watching the ball, but are you really watching the ball? And so when that ball is kicked, you know, going back and watching it again, you can see the front line turn and start to run and then have to stop because it's short. Like they weren't waiting for it to be kicked and then get back and try to set up the blocks and the kickoff return. And he said, I take the blame on that as well because I've got to tell them every time, remind them every time that this is what we do. And I appreciate a coach saying that, but do you really have to tell somebody who's on the front line at special teams that this is what the main job is for you? This is your first job as a special teamer on the front line, is to watch and make sure the ball. Should you have to remind them if you got to remind them every single time, then find somebody else. And it's a matter of rookies because Cook, Chanel, and Cochran were the ones that were over there. Those were the three guys where they onside kicked to. Maybe the Jags saw something on film that, hey, these guys don't wait. They're already heading back. We can have an onside kick here. We can get them, and maybe we do it the first. Maybe if we get the ball first, if the Chiefs win the coin toss, they're going to defer. We get the ball first, or maybe if we win the coin toss, then we'll defer and we'll have an onside kick. Maybe that's the case, but I don't know that you should have to tell every single time the guys on the front line that are there to watch the football. Eventually, that should just take. And again, rookies understand it. Steve Spagnuolo talked about George Karlaftis. He talked about a lot of different things, but a couple of things that stood out. George Karlaftis said, the D-line overall, but happy with the sacks and other things, and then mentioned Karlaftis on that 3rd down and 9, the first drive. He mentioned that the ball was knocked down and said that would have been a big play. I watched the All-22, and he's right. That play would have been down to the 20, 15-yard line if Karlaftis doesn't knock it down. It's a wide-open receiver. So that was interesting to hear him discuss and talk about that. And then there's a number of things from Eric Bieniemy for me that could take away. That talks about the rules on the scrambling, the hot hand that they're going to ride that guy. They're going to ride the hot hand, and more about game flow, the communication between the coaches. I thought that was interesting because it's the first time I've heard somebody talk about it to where I'm like, okay, I can see where Edwards-Helaire got the few carries because they were just staying with Pacheco in the moment.
Hey, this is the Fat Jack, and
You're into sports, but nothing wrong with a little leisure time. Why not both?
You're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 40 if you don't learn to relax.
It's time for sports or leisure on The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Sorry, I need to take a drink to cleanse the palate there. Playing a little sports or leisure, 913-810-810. $25 to Johnny's Tavern on the line. Playing some sports or leisure. You know, I'm going to go ahead and handle the sports today. I decided that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to step up and do the sports side of it. And we didn't have anybody to fill in for Josh, and we went searching, and we just started asking random people. It was like man on the street that those crazy TV people do. And so we went and found a man who was just hanging out on the street and asked him if he wanted to do it. And he agreed to do it. So that's pretty awesome. And his name is Mick Schaefer.
I was one of those TV people. I was out there doing a man on the street.
Yes.
Well, no. That didn't sound right.
Well,
I was getting a man on the street interview.
It'll sound better tomorrow at about 1:45.
Be on there, won't it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Performing a man on the street interview.
Oh, okay.
And then you guys came up to me, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to help out on it feels weird on a Thursday, though, being here.
Yeah. You're like, is this Friday?
It feels wrong.
When we end the show today, I'm going to think it's Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go home and do everything I would on a Friday, which is probably the same thing I would do on a Thursday, except thinking that tomorrow would be a Saturday. But it's not. It's a Friday. The whole thing's going to be confusing. I don't know. But Mick Schaefer's going to handle the leisure for Josh Briscoe because Josh decided to take a month off.
Did.
I don't know when he's going to be back. It was odd. He left. He's like, I'll see you next year. I didn't know
Did you
what that
move him to Utah as well, like Corey?
No, actually, we moved him. Corey said he didn't want to be anywhere near him, so we moved him to Jersey. So just the opposite side. You know, you need to get east, man. Go east. That's what you need to do. But no, Josh is out, and Mick Schaefer has always wanted to be a part of sports or leisure, or as you call it,
everybody wins.
That's right.
I'm going to be a hard ass today, okay?
I wondered
no
this
hints.
At the beginning of the show. I said, is Mick Schaefer, when we actually get the contestants, is he going to be nicer because, we're playing the game and now he's a part of it and, win in Rome, or is he going to rule with an iron fist? We'll find out what he's going to do. 913-381-0810.
Iron fist.
Do you want to just give Mick the little Family Feud buzzer we've got back there?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
When they get it wrong, I just hit it.
Yeah, this thing. Yep. Yeah, go ahead and do that one. So,
it feels good.
You're already doing.
So I don't know. Do I ask all the questions? Do we have the same list?
No. You ask. Thank you for listening. You ask the leisure questions only. I ask the sports questions. I've got this list of sports.
Okay.
You don't have the sports questions in front of you because neither Josh nor Corey wanted the sports questions because they wanted to play along.
Yep.
They wanted to act, and I do the same thing with leisure. I don't have the leisure questions in front of me because I want to play along and see if I'm smarter than the callers, which typically is not the case. So you only have the leisure questions in front of you, and you're only going to ask leisure questions, okay, Mick? That's how this is done.
I'm leisurely, and we go for the whole hour.
We actually go till 2:30, so I didn't tell you that.
Just skip out early.
It's an odd Thursday today. All right, 913-381-0810. Here's how you play. You get a sports question, you get a leisure question, you get them both right, you win. If you get either of them wrong, you lose, but that question is out there and available for someone to call in and request if they know the answer to it, or if they've Googled it. Doesn't matter. We give out the answer when somebody answers it correctly, or we're just out of time playing, and then we'll give out the answers to any unanswered questions that we had. It's all a community. If you don't get it right and somebody else gets it right and you helped them out along the way, then you can enjoy the fact that they'll be going to Johnny's. You can know that in your heart that you helped somebody. It's the giving season. $25 to Johnny's Tavern if you get them both right. Here are the categories today. We've got general NFL on the sports side. We have Chiefs and Chargers, the questions about players that have played for both the Chiefs and the Chargers. Decided to randomly use it this week. We have a college football question, and we still have 2 Royals World Series questions left over. 2 Royals World Series questions
Do I read
left
these
over.
now?
What categories are over there?
We have a Tavern of Johnnies.
That's right.
The name John or John. Just tell me if you read it.
I have. All right, you're heading to Johnny's. Good job, reader. Book it.
Like,
now you get some Pizza Hut. It's book it.
Just tell me, is there a man in the book? If so, you win.
Is there an antagonist and a protagonist?
Pun name game. Before and after is what I call it. Kind of my passion.
Yeah, it is.
One of these should not count.
Okay.
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to do this. I'm crossed it out already.
You're not even going to ask
BS. It's
Okay.
unfair to the contestants.
Love it.
It does not obey the rules.
See, so you're not only are you going to rule by an iron fist, but you're not going to mislead the contestants
Rule
either.
you guys by an iron fist,
That
too.
works.
Fist is all over the place. Let's get Greeky.
Let's do it.
California trivia. Greek is going to be, I think it's, these are all like
Greek mythology,
questions.
I think that was from the Titans.
It was, but it'll be Avery will be asking for that, I believe, when we get to the caller, Avery.
California trivia is going to be all questions about Ohio. And then spelling bee.
So it's a man actually named John California
Yes.
who lives in Ohio. It's just about his life.
Spelling bee. I say it, you spell it.
Okay. It'd be odd if you spelled it and they said it. It's weird. Think of the word I'm spelling.
California trivia is going to be all about Red Hot Chili Peppers and what songs they say the word California in. Hint, all of them.
Yes. By the way, you do become a better sort of listening to someone spell and figuring out what they're saying once you have kids. Because so much is spelled. Hey, do you want to go maybe later, OUTSIDE, if if we have time to want to do that? Maybe the PARK. I don't know if we may do that later on. I don't know. Let's go for let's say ICECREA. Maybe I don't know.
You want to go to BED with MITCH?
ISO HATEYOU AND EVERYBODY ELSE THATPLAYS THATGAME.
Lost me a long time ago.
I hate you and everybody else that plays that game. All right, let's play this game. 913-381-810. I'm good to go. Mick, you ready to go?
Yeah. Pick leisure, everybody. Let's go.
Beard, you ready?
Yeah, I'm good.
He already hit the buzzer. All right, we go to, let's see who leads us off. Andrew, first up on Sports Radio 810 WHB for Sports or Leisure, $25 at Johnny's Tavern. Andrew, Sports or Leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's do Chiefs-Chargers.
Chiefs-Chargers for you. A couple of these I don't know if I've asked before, so if I have, then hey, that's an advantage for a couple of the early callers. Okay, so one of the best Chiefs of the 90s, actually I know I haven't asked this one before, one of the best Chiefs of the 90s, he was an integral part of the intimidating and dominating defenses with Marty.
Yeah, he was.
He led the league in sacks one year and ended his career with the Chargers, but in between, he won a couple of rings, being more than just a Band-Aid for that team.
More than just a Band-Aid for that team. Is that a little clue there?
It is. It is. Led the league in sacks with Marty. That defense ended with the Chargers. In between the Chiefs and the Chargers, won a couple Super Bowls.
I had a guess right away, but I think it's not correct.
More than just a Band-Aid. Come on, if you get this one right, it'd be like hitting a home run.
Be like hitting a home run.
You like that, Mick? Yes.
Really good.
Thanks.
Cut it out with the hints, though.
Oh, sorry. Mick's going to be the hard ass. Sorry. You know what? I can hint whatever I want on this, so you stay on that side.
It's your show.
You stay leisuring, I'm staying sporting, okay?
Yeah, you keep coming with those hints.
Going to have Andrew showing up just to give you the what about.
Well, it can't be Donnie Edwards.
It is not. It is not Donnie Edwards.
That was my first guess.
I would have said, if it was Donnie Edwards, I would have said something like he was needing to brace for impact often. That would have gone that route. But this is not a Band-Aid. But I'd like to see you hit this home run.
Something to do with baseball.
By the way, Ndamukong Suh signed with the Eagles. So there you go, because they're looking for everybody.
That's not the answer either.
No, it is not. It is also not Ndamukong Suh, I can tell you that. All right, what do you have? Throw a dart.
Let's go. God.
It's not God either.
It's not him. Dale Carter.
Dale Carter is incorrect. Andrew, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. 913-381-810-810. Mick was there with the buzzer before Beards was.
I didn't know there was an actual buzzer. There's an actual buzzer, and then there's one that actually sounds better going through the board back there. Okay, got it. I'm new to this.
That's so great.
I'm going to keep hitting my buzzer, though.
You buzz over there on the leisure.
Okay.
All right. Beards will give the typical buzzer, but sometimes Beards is on the phone answering and talking with the contestants, and then we have to go, but you can handle that there. All right, let's go to Sean next up on Sports Radio 810. Sports or leisure, Sean, what side would you like to start with?
Let's do sports. I think I want to try that. I think I want to try that question that was just out there.
Try away.
Yep. Who's the player?
Oh man.
You sure you wanted to try it?
Probably the proper order would be have an answer and then try.
You know what? I know the answer to that question. I can give you a fresh one.
Nope, I don't. I don't want to.
Do you want a fresh one or you want another category?
Yeah, let's do a fresh one.
All right. Drafted by the Chargers in a round that no longer exists. Never actually played in a game for the Chargers. He QB'd the Chiefs to a couple of postseason runs, and this Hoosier has never stopped talking about the game.
What was the last part of that?
I said he quarterbacked the Chiefs to a couple of postseason runs, or at least appearances, and this Hoosier has never stopped talking about the game.
He went to Indiana.
Mm-hmm. Drafted by the Chargers in a round that no longer exists. And was the quarterback for a couple postseason teams for the Chiefs. Go playoff teams. And he still hasn't stopped talking about the game.
That means he's an announcer.
B.
I think so.
I'd have envy if you got this right.
Oh, Trent Green.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow, did I give that away?
No,
and I'm the guy.
Hold on, I just thought about
There's an impulse to help these people out.
I told you. You just when you're in the arena, it's different. Sitting outside in your ivory tower judging all the time.
Yeah. So does he have to do a leisure question
He
now?
does, yes.
To finish? Okay.
That's right. So thank you for listening to Everybody Wins. Yes, Trent Green, the right answer. Now on to leisure with Mick Schaefer.
So do you want the categories?
You said Spelling Bee was back?
Yep, Spelling Bee's back.
I usually always like to do Spelling Bee because I'm a good speller. So let's go with that one.
All right. Overpromise, got to overdeliver. Here we go. Questionnaire. How do you spell questionnaire?
Q-U-S-T-I-O-N-N-A-I-R-E.
Nice job.
Nice.
Nailed it with the two ends. I thought that was going to be the stumbling block.
The two ends can be stumblers, and you got it, Sean. You know what? You know your spelling, and apparently all the quarterbacks that went to Indiana. So Sean will put you on hold. Congratulations, man. Well done.
I know Randall L. He was a quarterback at Indiana.
That is true.
I believe
Connor Bazelak.
I believe one of the.
I'm missing somebody obvious?
Yes. Well, not obvious.
Trent Green's son.
Trent Green's son went there. Also, one of the Kaufman brothers. I believe the youngest Kaufman
you're right.
played some time at Indiana.
How do we randomly know all these Indiana
The Penn
Hoosiers?
State transfer is playing there now.
Oh, yes.
Penix.
Yeah. No,
Right?
Penix is in Washington.
Who am I thinking of?
I don't. No, you were.
Bazelak. Bazelak's there now.
Bazelak's there
Gotcha
now. But I'm trying to think of. But the guy that dove and almost beat Ohio State right at the goal line, and they were a half yard. It was like Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship.
That was
game.
the Penn State guy. Or that was the Indiana guy that almost beat Penn State.
Almost, yeah. So that
whatever
guy,
his name was.
Yes, but it was something like Penix. I can't remember what it. We'll figure it out later. But yes, Trent Green was drafted by the Chargers in the 8th round. Let's go to.
My heart
let's
is
see.
racing. This game is so fun.
Let's go to Avery next up on Sports Radio 810. Avery, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
Is there a Neil Smith question out there?
It's so funny. I knew Avery was going to ask that. because that's the smart way of doing the game is, hey, can I get that Neil Smith question? Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
son
wait,
of a
you got
oh,
me.
darn it. Plus, it helps them because if I'm like, we don't have one. All right, give me another one then. All right, one of the best Chiefs of the 90s, an integral part of the intimidating and dominating defenses with Marty. He did lead the league in sacks one year and ended his career with the Chargers, but in between, he won a couple rings, being more than just a Band-Aid for that team.
Say Neil Smith.
Well done, Neil Smith. I didn't think you would get it if I read it again to you. Neil Smith is correct. Ended his career with the Chargers, in which I didn't remember until going through and finding.
I don't
Chiefs and
remember
Chargers.
him as a Charger.
He played 6 games.
Stayed in the AFC West the whole time.
Yeah, he refused to go anywhere but the West. He wanted to stay one more year and play for the Raiders. So
he could have played
What was the Band-Aid part of that?
on his nose.
Yeah, they wear the Band-Aid on his nose
The
all the time.
breathe right Band-Aid thing on his nose, and then the hitting the home run because that was a celebration after the sacks.
Yeah, it was more of a breathe right thing, less than it was a strip more than a Band-Aid.
But didn't it start off as like a Band-Aid once, and then he had, and then it turned into like the breathe rights. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. I'm not
like
sure.
Nelly.
That's right. That's right. We would have accepted Nelly as well with the Band-Aid. On to leisure with
or
Mick.
Marcellus. What's his from Pulp Fiction? Band-Aid back there.
Oh, yeah, Marcel Suarez.
Yep.
All right, Nick, you want to Iron Fist me with a Greek question?
I would love to Iron Fist you with a Greek question. Here we go. Who's the famous Greek god of the sea?
Poseidon.
Nailed it.
Dude, Avery.
Avery's last name is, I don't know. Trying to think of a Greek last name. Can't think of one. Poseidon, maybe.
Papadakis.
Papadakis, there you go.
He asked for a Greek question every time, and he gets it right every time. That's right. That's a winner, though.
Nice job.
There we go. Heading to
What's he get?
Johnny. $25, Johnny Stabber.
Everybody wins.
Avery wins. All right, we'll put you on hold.
Everybody.
Avery, nice job. Well done. You got Poseidon and Neil Smith. So there you go.
Greek god of the sea, Greek god of the sack.
That's what everybody called Neil Smith, Greek god of the sack. That guy's one of the best sacks out there. He's a Greek god of sacks. Let's go to, let's see.
Got that Greek name, Smith.
Neil. Let's go to Charles next up on Sports Radio 810. Charles, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's try sports.
All right, we got NFL. We have Chiefs and Chargers. We've got a college football one, and we've got 2 Royals World Series questions left.
Let's do the World Series.
All right. Game 5 of the 2015 World Series, otherwise known as the last World Series game the Royals have played in. The same player ended up scoring both runs for the Mets in that game. Do you remember what player for the Mets scored both runs in that game? Both of the 2.
Oh, jeez.
I think he actually hit multiple home runs for the Mets in those 5 games.
Is it the one who had a great playoff series? It was like,
yeah, it is that one.
Like Babe Ruth in the playoffs that year.
Seabolt's a fan of him.
I'm going to throw a dart and say
Seabolt's a fan of him.
Curtis Granderson.
Hey, nice job, Curtis Granderson. When you said great, I thoute you were meaning grand.
No, I was thinking, who's the second baseman? Just had an unreal playoff. Murphy,
yeah, but then was terrible defensively in the World Series.
Could not catch.
You said great, I thought you were meaning grand.
Oh,
like,
nice,
is it great? Yeah, grand. And I thought, all right, we're thinking along the same page. No, we were totally off. But on to leisure with Mick Schaefer, Charles.
Let's try the spelling bee.
Spelling bee, Charles. Here we go. Can you spell unconscious? Unconscious.
Can you spell this?
Let's see. UNCONSCIOUS.
Nailed it.
Nice job.
Nailed it.
Well done.
You might have just gone unconscious there to spell that word correctly, like Will Ferrell.
Exactly.
Yeah. What happened? I blacked out.
I blacked out. What happened? That's actually right. That's the perfect answer. Charles, we'll put you on hold. Get your information. Congratulations. $25. Johnny's Tavern. Johnny's Tavern will be seeing Charles soon with $25. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back And continue with Sports or Leisure, presented by Johnny's Tavern. $25 at Johnny's Tavern. You get a sports question, a leisure question right, you win. 913-3810810. We take a timeout. We come back. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
That's half of it, right?
That's half of it. We got a leisure question. You want to go Trivindiana, Marvel questions, spelling bee, or fourth grade U.S. history, or Beards' Game of Thrones question?
Those are serious categories?
Those are all serious questions. Yep. Only serious categories around here.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I like that with Mick in here, that
totally different vibe, first of all.
Well, besides just, enjoying it a lot more, the tweets that come in are taking the place of the usual texts from you.
Me.
Because you typically text in and go, oh my God, what is going on? This is so easy. We're getting tweets that are doing that. So it's just,
The game's a lot easier when you're not, like, under the spotlight, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not put on the spot. You're not in charge of delivering the answers.
I don't know. I think the answers are easy. I mean, it's like they're right. I just feel like they're right in front of me.
I feel like they're just written out right in front of me.
Like, I try to write it out there, too. Ryan, next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB, a little sports or leisure, $25 at Johnny's Tavern for the winners. Ryan, what side do you want to start with, sports or leisure?
Now let's do Chiefs-Chargers.
All right, Chiefs-Chargers for you.
What are the other categories for sports?
Just NFL, a college football question, and one more Royals World Series questions. So I may have asked this before, and if I did, oh well. Drafted in the second round out of Ole Miss, this versatile player lined up in the backfield as a receiver and also returned kicks. He ended his career with the Chargers. Chiefs fans may remember him more for ripping through his cleat at practice. And that being such a big story that they were videoing the cleat, taking pictures of the cleat. He was Zion before Zion, only much smaller.
Dexter McCluster.
Yeah, there you go. Nice
Didn't
job.
he have a big return on an opening day against the Chargers, right?
I know he had a return against the Giants.
I thought it was like
a punt
opening
return.
night.
He might
they
have.
opened up with the Chargers, and he had a big return.
The only reason I remember against the Giants is because I was at the Giants game with one of my buddies who's a Giants fan, and he was not happy about McCluster breaking free and then a spin move in the open field and scoring the touchdown. But too bad. That's what you get for being a Giants fan. All right, over to leisure with Mick.
Do you need the categories? Who are we talking to?
Ryan. Rhino.
Let's do spelling bee.
Here we go, Rhino. We're going to go with precocious. Spell.
Oh, wow.
Precocious. Like in Betty Davis size. She's precocious. Ferocious. She'll tease you. Yes, sorry, go ahead. PRE.
P-R-E-C-O-C-I-O. U.S.
Nailed it.
Nice job.
There we go.
Nice
Precocious.
job. Well done, Ryan. That is a winner, right? Correct. Dexter McCluster and Precocious. There we go. Ryan will put you on hold and get your information. Congratulations, man. Heading to Johnny's Tavern.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. $25 at Johnny's Tavern for Ryan, little sports or leisure.
He's got Betty Davis size.
See, sometimes they just get it right. So your whole everybody wins. Sometimes, you come in and go, it's Dexter McCluster, and here's Precocious. I'll go ahead and spell that for you.
Really good spellers out there.
There are some good
There
spellers.
are some guys that know how to operate a phone and a computer at the same time.
Although,
Or maybe a phone and a phone at the same time.
I'm not sure you would want to ask for the spelling category if you're not a good speller. Typically, you would be a good speller if you say, you know what, let me spell something.
Yeah.
Or quick with the Google.
I think I would get most of these. I might slip up on a couple of them.
Well, Briscoe's strategy behind the spelling words are words that he has trouble spelling. He then puts on the list.
Okay.
This one always gets me.
Yeah.
Let me put this one out there. Red. I always think it's R-E-A-D. Let's go to Matt next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sports or leisure, Matt, what side do you want to start with?
Let's keep it going with Chiefs and Chargers.
All right. Just a few left. Let's see. How old are you, Matt?
37.
Is that the question?
Yep, that's
Nailed
it.
it. Okay,
Nice
let's
job.
move on to leisure.
Well done. Well done. Over to leisure. He's going to ask what's your weight, and then you win. All right, so see if you can get this one. You're 37. You're about 5 years younger than me, so this may be right on the border. This longtime Chiefs cornerback started and ended his career in Kansas City, but he had a short one-year stint with the Chargers. Unfortunately for Chiefs fans, his Chargers team came to Arrowhead and rocked the Chiefs. This cornerback for the Chiefs started and ended his career with the Chiefs, but 1 year played with the Chargers. In that 1 year, that Chargers team came into Kansas City and won, and his team rocked. This is let me just say this is in the 90s, early to mid 90s. That's why I was wondering how old you are. 37. So you'd have been about maybe 10 years old around there. So it's right on the edge.
I'm assuming Rock is a clue.
That's right. That was actually his nickname. I believe he might have been like a 7th rounder. Like he was a late round pick too. Mm-hmm. You're getting there.
I feel like I should know this, and I don't.
The ones I had written down.
Oh, no. Which ones did you have written down? That were Chiefs and Chargers? Yeah, I like that. You did a little research. I appreciate that, Matt. But here's the thing. We've used this category a number of times, so there are a few that I've already asked, and I had to refresh them last night. So they might be a little more difficult after the Neil Smith and Trent Green and Dexter. Cornerback for the Chiefs in the 90s. Nickname Rock.
I just don't know if I'm going to get there.
It's a tough one.
It is not easy. The other two, I think, are a little more tough. So I think this was the easier.
Was he a prominent corner? Like
he was.
A well-known one?
Yeah, he was well known. He and Albert Lewis made up one of the best cornerback tandems. So it's not Albert Lewis, obviously. Who, by the way, another finalist for the HBCU Hall of Fame that was announced.
Where'd he go?
Boy, I should know this. I can tell you he went to an HBCU, but I really should know which school. I think this is the 4th year in a row he's been a finalist for the Hall of Fame. About time he gets in. I mean, if you're going to be a finalist 4 years, just put him in the Hall of Fame. But anyway, it's not Albert Lewis.
It's Grambling State.
Grambling,
yep.
Okay. Should have known that.
This is probably wrong. I'll just throw a dart with Dale Carter.
It wasn't Dale Carter.
Good guess.
It's not a bad guess, but it was not Dale Carter. Matt, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. 913-3-810-810 is the phone number. 913-3-810-810. I wanted to look up something real quick for the Chiefs in this particular fella. Because I wondered if he went to... yeah, he was a 7th round pick. Just wanted to make sure. Not that it matters.
I thought that's going to be a big help right there.
Well, I thought maybe he went to an HBCU as well.
But he didn't.
He went to Temple. Let's go to Hunter next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Hunter, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Do sports.
Yep, sports. We got
Does
Chiefs and
everybody always
Chargers.
start with sports, or is it just me?
Typically it's leisure.
So it's me.
They're
then,
avoiding
yeah.
you. You're going to be Iron Fist. They don't want to be around it. Chiefs and Chargers. We got NFL. We've got college football, and one more World Series Royals question.
I'll just do the general NFL one.
General NFL for you. Okay. Patrick Mahomes picked up 63 yards rushing against the Titans. What quarterback holds the Chiefs' record for most rushing yards in a game? Chiefs quarterback record, most rushing yards in a game.
I don't know. I feel like Alex Smith was a runner, but I feel like that's a bit too obvious.
I mean, if sometimes the obvious one is the right one.
All right, we'll roll with that. We'll roll with Alex Smith.
No, it's Alex Smith. Alex Smith,
do him dirty.
78 yards against the Detroit Lions in 2015 in England.
That's the most?
78 yards rushing.
Wait, what was? Didn't Steve Bono run for like 80 yards on one play?
Alex was getting first downs every drive.
I'm not giving away other questions, Mick.
Okay, sorry.
Not giving away other questions.
He had too many sacks, then it took him.
That's exactly what happened.
Okay.
Hunter, over to leisure with Mick Schaefer.
What what are the leisure options?
Great question. Tavern of Johnny's. The answer's going to have John or Johnny in it. Read a book, pun, name game, let's get Greeky, California trivia, spelling bee.
Let's do the Greeky.
Here we go. What was the name of the one-eyed Sicilian giant in Greek mythology? I didn't know he was Sicilian.
Cyclops?
Cyclops, nailed it.
Nice job. Well,
Well
Sicilian Cyclops. It
Yeah,
was an
Sicilian.
alliteration.
I didn't know that.
Most Greek
Never.
mythology is alliteration. People know this.
Never
Hunter,
get into a battle of wits with a Sicilian when death is on the line.
That's right. Or a land war with China.
No.
Let's Hunter. That's a winner. All right. Put you on hold. Get your information. Congratulations.
Winner.
Chicken dinner at Johnny's. $25 Johnny's
chicken.
Tavern is yours. 913-810-810. Let's go to Ben next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. $25 Johnny's Tavern for the winner of Sports or Leisure. Ben, what side do you want to start with?
I'll try your last Royals World Series question.
All right. Here we go. In 2014 and 15, combined, those two World Series for the Royals in those, 12 games they played. Only 3 starters actually got a win. 3 starters got a win in the 12 World Series games that were played with the Royals.
I know 2 off the top of my head.
That's why let's start with 2. Let's start with name 2, Ben, and then if you're a baller, we may go name 3.
Okay, so we're just combining both World Series.
Yep, both 14 and 15, 12 games they played. That means there were 12 starts, not necessarily 12 different starting pitchers, but 12 starts that were made. 3 starters got to win.
I'll start with Johnny Cueto.
Johnny Cueto is
Game
one.
2, 15, correct?
So, I mean, really, it's 7 games where a win was given out to a Royals pitcher.
Yes.
So, Cueto is one of them.
Okay.
And you said, did you say just starting? We're just talking about starting pitchers?
Starting,
or just
yep.
Royals
Only
pitchers?
only 3
Okay.
started. The other 4 games were won by relievers.
Okay, Johnny Cueto. Let's try Eddie. Edison Volquez.
Eddie didn't have a win.
Okay.
Eddie never have it. Mick, what do you
He had
think?
an emotional start.
You want another chance, or are you iron fisting and done?
My iron fist is unclenched. You can have one more guess.
I knew you would get soft.
He sounds like he's gonna get this one.
Yeah, your iron fist has
Okay, I'm
been
gonna-
melted by the heart of Ben.
Okay.
It's Cueto and not Eddie. But there's 2 others out there that got to win.
Softer, kind of a rubber fist now.
Is that what it is? It's a limp
Cotton ball fist.
You now give the old dead fish handshake. Used to be like, wow, that's a hell of a handshake.
It's
Is
a
that like
dead
an iron
fist handshake? Is what it
Dead
is.
fist
Here, take my fist.
Here
Touch
you
it
go.
awkwardly.
Yes, you're like the queen when somebody goes to kiss her hand. Just slowly just lean it over there. The wrist is bent.
I'll just go with Ace Ventura.
Yes.
Yes, Giordano
Nice.
got one as well.
Those are the top 2 obvious ones. Can we guess the third?
Yeah,
or-
let's guess the third.
I'm guessing
Ben, you and Mick work together.
Was something weird like Jeremy Guthrie or something like that?
You're right. It was
Okay.
Guthrie.
Okay.
Well done.
Sorry.
Well done. On to Leisure with Mick Schaefer. So yes, Cueto, Ventura, and Guthrie, the 3 starters with a win.
All right, I can't see. What's his name?
Yeah, it is Ben.
Ben. Okay, so Tavern of Johnny's, read a book, pun name game, let's get Greeky, California trivia, spelling bee.
Let's try the pun name game.
Oh, thank goodness. My favorite one. I'm not doing this paragraph I've got to read for this one. I don't have to go in order, right? I can do whichever
whatever
one.
you want.
Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
And you understand, right? They have to have a shared name or word in between them, right? Or sometimes just a syllable, but it's shared.
Ben, let me tell you this. If there is one thing that really pisses Mick off,
it's missing
those that ask for the pun name game and don't
know
understand the
rules.
concept.
Yes. Okay, here we go.
So if you're going to play it, Ben, I don't want Mick to start cursing at you.
Okay.
Well, if I know the clues, I'll get it. But if I don't, I'm going to be screwed.
Well, it's not about not getting it right. It's about
just
just
the rules, right?
getting it wrong.
You
Where
can crash
you're
and burn.
not
Just know the
combining
rules.
things.
Yeah, here we go. All right. What would you rather do? Fight off a bear in a movie, or memorize all the defensive backs on the Chiefs practice squad? To get this question, you'll need to do both. I'll simplify this. The
Okay.
guy who fought off a bear in a movie, maybe rode off a cliff with a horse
yeah.
into a tree, and a practice squad Chiefs defensive back.
That's right.
fought a bear in a movie.
Mm-hmm. In fact, won a pretty
Went down with the boat, too, in another movie.
Yep, won a pretty big award for that whole bear fighter
Mhm.
thingy. I mean,
early on, you asked.
he didn't set out to fight the bear in the movie.
No, he didn't, but he had to.
He had to.
Leo DiCaprio. Okay. And give me the second part of your question again. Sorry.
Just Chiefs practice squad defensive back.
Chiefs practice squad defensive back.
I feel like you got the easy part. Now comes the easy part.
I need to know a practice squad defensive back.
And actually, he's played.
Yeah,
I mean,
he had to
he's
step
been
up
up
and
this
play.
year. Some right? Yeah.
Yep. When McDuffie was out, when Fenton got hurt in the game,
Might have played at the school that has the N for knowledge on the helmet.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I believe, right? He played there.
Why can't I put his name with the defensive back?
Well, I mean, you can put
got half his name.
You got half his name already.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I can't get the. This is gonna hurt.
Well, it's not an iron fist anymore. It's just a cotton ball fist. It hurts bad.
So it may not hurt as much.
Practice squad defensive
Yeah,
back.
he did play at Nebraska.
Nebraska, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I knew that at one point, but sometimes when
and
they're not around you.
And the first part, the question went to Andy Reid's high school. They went to the same high school, not the same time, but
that would have been odd.
Been hard.
Yeah. It would have been a much bigger story with this guy playing
big
for the
story,
Chiefs if
yes.
he went to high school with Andy Reid. All right, what do you say, Ben?
I can't even think of a name. I'm blanking. I got the first part, but I can't put it with the defensive back, the practice squad defensive
I feel like
back.
if you know this guy, you'd know it. If you haven't heard of him, then it's hard.
That's what. I'm sorry, Nick. I let you down.
Hey, that's all right. You knew the rules, though. You knew the rules.
Ben,
All right, have a good one.
Appreciate it, man. 913-381-0810. Let's go to Lucas next up on Sports Radio 810. Lucas, Sports or Leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Can I take that Kevin Ross question?
I like when people do that. I don't know why.
So good.
Let's see. Do I have a Kevin Ross question? Oh, here's one. This longtime Chiefs cornerback started and ended his career in Kansas City, but had a short one-year stint with the Chargers. Unfortunately for Chiefs fans, in that 1 year, his Chargers team came into Arrowhead and rocked the Chiefs. What's that cornerback's name?
I'm going to guess Kevin Ross.
Well done. What are the odds? You wanted a Kevin Ross
Amazing.
question, and you got one. On to Leisure with Mick Schaefer.
What category you want?
Can I just take that fun name game one?
Yeah,
The last one we just did?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, what would you rather do? Fight off a bear in a movie or memorize all the defensive backs in the Chiefs practice squad roster? To get this question, you need to do both. Who we got there?
We got Leonardo DiCaprio Boodle.
Nailed
Nice
it.
job. Well done. Well done.
Really good.
See, sometimes it pays just to be the next in line when the couple are just
Yes.
sit right in front of you. Sometimes all you got to do is swing.
Just pick up the scraps.
Sit right there on the tee. Lucas, well done, sir. Sending you to Johnny's Tavern, $25 with you. Thank you, Lucas.
Thank you.
He was not impressed with it. He was like,
We had more
thanks,
energy
but
than he did.
just,
Yeah.
I knew it was Kevin Ross.
I knew, yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio, but I kind of
He's
wanted
ashamed.
to
I feel like he wanted to get his own questions, get it right.
It's like, do I just
Try
take
next week?
Do I just take the bird in the hand and take the $25, or do I challenge myself? I don't know. You know what? I'll take the $25, but I'm not going to be happy about it.
No, I'm not.
We'll take a timeout. I'm not happy about that either because we're done playing this segment. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I can only get mad at 4 things in life. It was 3. This is the 4th. Golf, my wife, Oklahoma State, and now that pun name game that nobody can get.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Okay, so there is a pun name game. I'm just going to eliminate this question.
Let's do it.
Because it's against the rules.
Okay, let's do it. Let me see
The
if I can
Chiefs
get it.
quarterback, how doers get more done.
No, that works.
No, it doesn't. It's not called Homes Depot.
It's close
Patrick
enough.
Mahomes.
No,
Depot.
that's not a thing close enough. It's not Homes Depot.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's right.
Nope.
That would need to be
like what do you pay your dues to? Patrick Mahomes Association. Right? Chiefs quarterback, where you pay your yearly dues? Patrick Mahomes Association. It's not Homes Depot.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you're
I'm
right.
just crossing this out, and I'm never coming in again on Thursday. Done.
Never coming in again on Thursday.
See you next week.
Thank you, Mick. I appreciate you
Hey,
coming
no
in,
problem.
hanging out.
Anytime on a Thursday.
Absolutely. Crunch time, 6 o'clock. Thursday Night Football after that. Program, Swim Petro, next.